say I had an error come up and it booted me out. I don't know why. My PlayStation had an error for whatever reason. Whereas, yeah, you can still hear me, all right, can't you? Maybe a delay, maybe. Yeah, ready when you are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nighthawk Racing hashtag F01-R08 Championship. I'm Sarah Hawkins, also known as Sarah Hawkie, and I'll be your host for this evening and one of your co-commentators for this Gran Turismo 7 base championship. I'm joined by motorsport enthusiast, racer, and co-commentator Kirk.
Hello, I'm back for our final round tonight of the season. I'll be excited to see if anybody has what it takes to challenge Swizzy tonight.
Yes. Swizzy. The last race, he'll be looking to secure that championship, I'm sure. But here is the series rundown. We have had an 8-event championship with 16 race sessions in a sprint and a feature race dual format. There are 20 different drivers, 13 different manufacturers, 5 legendary Grade 1 circuits and 3 classic tracks from the world of Gran Turismo. For the final round of this season 1, we are at some of the drivers' personal favourite track of the Red Bull Ring. The format tonight for the event is the same as what we saw last week around Suzuka. So we have 3 official time sessions, with the first one tonight is the reverse championship sprint race, which is then followed by the 10-minute qualifying session for the feature race, which then is our third session of the night. It has only been a few days since the dust has settled at Suzuka. Race 8 this evening here at the legendary track of the Red Bull Ring will give us yet more on-track action for the final race of Season 1. Kirk, if you could you please give us an overview of the event session format?
Absolutely, Sarah. So tonight, starting at about 8:30 British Standard Time, we have our 15-minute reverse championship order sprint race. That would be a rolling start, therefore giving everybody space to get themselves settled over the first few laps before all the action really starts to kick off. After that race, at about 10 to 9, we'll have our 10-minute qualifying for the feature race. But the caveat to qualifying is the tyre you set your fastest lap on is the tyre you start the sprint race, or feature race, should I say, on. And that will lead us on to the feature race. So tonight, around the Red Bull Ring, we have 41 laps, and it will be a grid start. So I expect to see a lot of carnage in turn 1, and especially to that tight hairpin at turn 2. We have the mandatory tire rule, where you have to use 2 different compounds of tire for a completely dry race. So that means you would have to use at least either. So if you start on the softs, you'll have to use the medium or the hard tire. And if you start on the medium tire, you'll have to use the soft or the hard tire. The only exemption to this rule is if we get a wet race or it starts to rain where the moisture goes over a third on the bar, which then it'll be considered a wet race and you don't have to use both compounds of tire. Um, yeah. So yeah, as I said, so it's just so you start the race on your on the qualified tire, and then obviously you have to use two compounds, Sarah.
Yes, you do indeed. Don't forget. And thank you for that, Kirk. I will run down the points. So, as we've had throughout the season so far, qualifying, if you qualify first, second, and third, you get some points. So, it's always good to aim high. For first place, you get 3 points. Second place, you get 2 points. And third place in qualifying, you get 1 point. There's 2 points awarded to the person or the driver that gets the fastest lap, both in the sprint and the feature race. And moving on to the sprint race itself, you get points all across the board from first, which is 20 points, all the way down to 14th, which is then 2 points. Again, in the feature race, all of these are doubled. So first place, if you come home in first, you get 40 points. All the way down to 14th, you get 4 points. So, like I've said all season long, it's in it to win it. If you're in the lobby, if you're racing, you're going to get some points on the board. But yes, we'll have a quick look at the driver standings after last week, after round 7, going into the final. We'll have a quick look at that, and then we'll talk about the drivers, and we'll explain the standings as we go into qualifying a little bit later. So, over to the drivers. So, going to kick it off with Bertie. Bertie is currently sitting on 155 points and is 7th place in the standings. Bertie during this season has had some strong showings in that McLaren and some really consistent drives. Let's see if he can do it again for one last time this season. Next up is Deadline. Deadline has shot up into 9th place in the standings on 126 points after finding some comfort in that RX Vision compared to the Lamborghini that he was in at the start of the season. Can Deadline get another podium tonight? And on to Fred. Fred is currently on 118 points and is in 10th place in the standings, so rounding out that top 10. After taking Valentine's night off, he's back in the racing seat tonight and looking to end the season on a high. And we have got Kai, but unfortunately, Kai has had some issues with his pedal today, meaning he had to withdraw from the race tonight. But Kai throughout the season has been fighting Swizzy for that top spot in the standings and on track. So, even coming out with 2 wins in round 6. So Kai is sitting on 366 points and in 2nd place in the driver standings. On to Koulios. So Koulios is ready to hit the track, a track which he has been practicing for and knows quite well. Can Koulios threaten the podium drivers once more? But remember, Koulios, to finish first you must finish, so no rage quit in the lobby tonight, please. Koulios has 92 points and is in 13th place in the standings. On to Lee. Lee has been very close to the podium all season long. Can he finally get on the podium tonight? We will see. But Lee has had some amazing drives all season, showing that consistency is really rewarded. He has had some strong drives throughout. Lee is on 6th place with 199 points, looking to breach that 200 points tonight. And for my last driver, it is Nick or Nevi. Over the last couple of weeks, Nick has been practicing the tracks with other Nighthawk members, and you can really tell his driving has improved so much. We're all proud of you, Nick, and we hope you have another good drive tonight. And on to Kirk. Kirk will go through the rest of the drivers.
Absolutely. So first we have Muck Manley, who last week had a very solid week at Suzuka. He was fortunate to capitalise on an incident between Deadline and Koulios in the sprint race to finish 4th, and drove a fantastic feature race to finish 2nd. This leaves him third in our standings on 297 points, and possibly, give another good weekend tonight, he could overtake Kai due to the unfortunate pedal problem that Kai has suffered tonight. After Manley, we go on to Pedro, one of our own admin team, Pedro. He is currently battling with Sim Race Dude for fourth in the championship. Last week, he finished a disappointing 8th in the sprint race and a 6th in the feature race. This puts him in 5th in our standings, only 2 points behind Sim Race Dude, so every point will count tonight, and I'm sure Pedro will want to maximise them. Then we have Midnight, someone who you'll have to keep an eye on tonight. Midnight always goes well round here at Red Bull Ring and will be one of the quickest guys here tonight. He will 1,000% be looking to challenge at the podium and possibly looking to challenge Swizzy at the top. Only time will tell, but definitely keep your eye on Luke. After that, we have Sim Race Dude. He had a pretty impressive round last week at Suzuka. Although finishing 7th in the sprint race, he had an absolutely insane finish of 4th in the feature race. Finishing Pedro in both the sprint and the feature race. This gave him, going into our final round, this gave him a 2-point lead on Pedro. And so 4th will be decided tonight, and it could be either driver who takes 4th. Then we have Coach. Coach had a very good round last week, beating Swizzy in the sprint race to finish 1st and finishing 5th in the feature race. If I was a betting man, I'd be expecting a similar result tonight of someone who's blisteringly fast on his day, and I'm sure he'll definitely be looking for a podium again tonight. And then Swizzy, who only needs 3 points tonight to become the first of our season 1 champion. Swizzy again was doing Swizzy things last week, driving a clean sprint race, cutting through the pack to finish 2nd behind Coach, and then dominating the feature race by winning by 17 seconds in the end. The Red Bull Ring is a completely different circuit to Suzuka, so I'm sure he'll be under a bit more pressure tonight. And then finally, we have Ziggy. The Red Bull Ring is a track that Ziggy does like a lot, and he's usually quite fast around. I expect him to be up there challenging most of the drivers here tonight, and he'll certainly be looking to keep things clean and showing people don't count him out just yet. So.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think we've all driven many miles around the Red Bull Ring, including Ziggy. So yeah, I know Ziggy's always strong around here. So hopefully he will have a good race today. But as we get ready for the sprint race to take place, Midnight behind the scenes is getting the grid ready, and it all sorted. We will just show last week's sprint race podium, and a surprising win, I must say, a surprising win from Coach in that Genesis. We weren't necessarily expecting Coach to win, but after getting a blistering start, he held the first place for the duration of the race, battling off Swizzy and Kai towards the end. So a massive congratulations to Coach. And talking about Swizzy and KD the Kai in the GTRs, they finished just behind Coach in 2nd and 3rd. But as we get ready, we have a new graphic this week. Ooh. But this shows the Reverse Championship sprint grid for you guys. So in 1st place we will have Ziggy, then Koulios, Midnight in 3rd, Fred in 4th, Deadline in 5th, Coach in 6th, Bertie in 7th, and Lee in 8th. So this is 1 to 8, and we'll go on to P9 to 14. So we've got Simrace Dude in 9th, Pedro in 10th, McManley in 11th. Unfortunately, obviously, Kai not racing today, so Swizzy will then start in 12th, sorry, and then Nick will start in 13th. But yeah, as you can see, if I go back to this one, We've got some fast people out in front. We'll starting slightly higher up in the grid, be able to kind of suit them well. Maybe Midnight getting his first win of the season, starting in third place. Any thoughts on that, Coolio? Any thoughts on that, Kirk? I was just reading Koulios starting in second. I'm not sure if he's got a penalty or not, but we'll know when we go into the race. But yeah, what's your thoughts on our reverse championship sprint grid?
I think the ball is in Luke's court for this race. Starting P3 is a very big advantage, especially compared to the faster drivers starting towards the back, like Pedro and Swizzy. You know, if Luke can clear Kyrgios and Ziggy quick, I think this is Luke's race to win. I think Luke can win it. It also depends on how clean he keeps it. This is a track that Luke is really good at. But it's so easy just to run slightly wide, and pick a penalty up, and then once you get one, you tend to keep doing it, as annoying as it gets. But it's all about getting to the front, keeping it clean, and not doing anything silly, such as picking up penalties, Sarah.
Yeah. Again, I couldn't agree more. I think I've picked up so many penalties around here, especially those last few corners. So if I have any advice for the drivers out there, try your best to stay within those white lines, because it will really help towards the end of the race. But yeah, I think Midnight starting in third is the optimal place for him. I reckon he'll be looking to kind of get in front Koulios and Ziggy as soon as he can, and build that gap to the people that are starting slightly farther back, obviously because they are higher up in the our championship standings. They'll be looking again to charge through the field. So we've got an interesting sprint race coming up, and as I say that, the grid is just forming for that. So we will go to our main race feed, ready for the race. As we go on board with Ziggy, our pole position for our final sprint race of the season. Take it away, Kirk.
Absolutely. So as our drivers get underway, we have Ziggy leading us off, followed by Midnight. So Koulios must have got a penalty. So that gets Luke promoted up into P2, followed by Fred in P3, Deadline in 4th, Coach in 5th, 30 in 6th. As we see Fred looking at the inside to Luke. He scares Luke a little bit, intimidates Luke. But they both ruin their exit. That allows Deadline to run on alongside, running up into turn 3. As we see Luke picking up a half-second, Luke and Ziggy picking up a half-second penalty, which is not what you want to do at the start of the race, because that's going to drop him down to the mid-pack. We see Deadline going up the inside of Fred, keeping his nose a bit deep. We see Ziggy going wide and half-spinning across the track. Luckily, he didn't collect anyone there, but we see Deadline running alongside with Luke, heading into turn 4. Can Deadline get the job done up the inside? He outbreaks Luke into the next corner. They're still alongside. Ooh. And as we see Fred absolutely sending it into turn 4. We're going a bit deep, but that's Deadline getting the job done, Sarah.
Yeah. Deadline getting the job done, obviously without a penalty, which will suit him quite nicely, as he knows a few people behind him will have to slow down. You might have heard a little ooh in me there, because I saw Fred. Basically, he tried to send it, but it wasn't delivered. Unfortunately, going a little bit wide into the gravel. But if anything, it shows that he's ready, and he's ready to fight for positions to finish up slightly higher in the championship. But again, I think we're on for a podium fight here, because we've got Deadline, Coach and Midnight all penalty free now, trying to build a gap between them and Ziggy. As I say that, Ziggy.
Ziggy's come round again.
Commentators cursing that.
As we go on board, as I go on board with Swizzy and McManley running up towards turn 3, Swizzy is up the inside. This could be crucial for Swizzy's race here, getting past McManley in that Merc. As we know, McManley again, another very fast driver, and Swizzy getting too eager on the throttle on the exit at turn 3. getting very sideways, which gives McManley the run out the corner, going into turn 4. McManley's trying to go around the outside. Is he going to hold it around the outside, or is he going to go for the cutback? Swizzy outbreaks him. McManley looks to take a tighter line, but Swizzy parks it on the apex and doesn't allow McManley to get a look in, Sarah.
No. He's he's blocking off all those apexes, shutting the door on Mac just behind him. I think these two have raced quite nicely side by side throughout the season, so we obviously know there's a lot of respect there. McManley picking up a half-second penalty through there. So it just shows when you race side by side round here, it's so easy just to go that little bit over the white lines picking up a penalty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. This track is a killer for it, because you have, if you run the exit at the final corner too far, you get a penalty. Turn 1, if you clip too much of that inside curb or run over the too wide on the outside, you'll pick another penalty up. And then you've got the middle sector, of course, run a little wide in any part of that sector, and you're going to pick another half-second penalty. This track is an absolute killer for the penalties. But that's what allows people at the front to break away. If they can keep it clean, really get used to the track in their car, and helps them pull away at the front, Sarah. As we see Pedro outbraking himself, running very deep into turn 3, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just on board with that.
Allows Swizzy to go through.
Just on board with that. It looked a battle brewing between Lee and Pedro. Like you say, Pedro going slightly wide, causing himself to lose a place to Swizzy, and obviously bringing himself closer to Mac behind, who will look to charge through. Again, also spotting a new livery, I see, Mac. Yeah, it seems that everyone's got away nice and smooth, settling into the race.
If you're part of the top 3, do you see Swizzy in P5 and start getting nervous yet, Sarah?
Oh, 100%. 100%. To be fair, it's astonishing how quickly Swizzy can get on the back of the podium drivers, obviously starting all the way down in 12th or 13th place today. To go from 12th to 5th within a few laps is, yeah. I'd be worried. To be fair, I'd be worried on lap 1, because I know that what Swizzy can do.
Yeah, as we see Swizzy going at the inside of Lee into turn 1. Quite a simple move in the end, but is Lee going to try and have a go back on Swizzy? As we see Lee looking towards the outside, possibly looking to cut back on Swizzy on the exit at turn 3. But Swizzy says, nope, you can stay around the outside, and just box it on the apex again and just lets him go on his way, Sarah.
Yeah, as I was looking at the battle behind between Pedro and McManley, Pedro picking up another half-a-second penalty. I fear that's going to be kind of the driver's worst nightmare today around the track like this. Because it's when you picked up those little penalties, it might not obviously affect you too much in the sprint race, but in the feature race, that's a lot of time eaten up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, it may only be a half-second penalty, but when you pick up 5, 6, 7 of them, you know, it can really build up and obviously make your race longer, therefore costing you time and possibly losing positions in the end, Sarah. As a lot of races this season have been decided by drivers picking up penalties and losing a couple seconds, and that's been the difference between a first and a second, as we've seen multiple times between like Swizzy and Kai. As we see Swizzy has picked up a half-a-second penalty, how much do you think that's going to affect this race, Sarah?
Knowing how fast Swizzy is, he'll burn that penalty and be on the back of Midnight within seconds. I think if I was Midnight, I'd be looking in front of me, but I'd also be looking at behind me to see how fast Swizzy's kind of approaching him, as I don't think it would take too long for them to have a battle between the two of them.
See Pedro picking up another half-second penalty as well. Pedro is really struggling with getting the penalties today, Sarah.
He is at the moment, yes. I mean, it's always that thing when you go into a race and you kind of do a race, then qualifying. Usually this sprint race is kind of like the driver's practice, or kind of to see how everyone races. So maybe Pedro kind of just testing the track limits a little bit while fighting with other people. and we'll take that on board for the feature race, and hopefully we'll get less penalties, which, again, in the end, might mean a few positions gained.
Absolutely. As we know, Pedro and Simrace Dude are actually only separated by 2 points in the championship. 2 points in the championship. So, and really every point counts, especially when it's that tight, Sarah.
Yeah, all points count, especially when you're in a championship battle. We've got a few across the field, actually. Obviously, the Swizzy and Kai championship battle, if you want to talk about that, Kirk. Obviously, we haven't got Kai today, so kind of does wrap up Swizzy's championship kind of fight. But apart from that, we've got a few brewing. We've got for third place, we've got for I think 6th or 7th place as well. So we've got a few battles between the drivers across the field, looking to get as many points as they can to beat the people around them. I've got to say, Coach has picked up a lot of points last time out, so he's looking to kind of boost himself up a little bit in the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. So that win in the sprint race last week, it's really helped his championship gains to move off a few positions. But the battle between the top 4 is separated by less than a second now, Sarah. As we see both Midnight and Coach both go wide, allowing Swizzy to go at the inside of Midnight. Is Swizzy gonna be able to challenge Coach into turn 1? So we tucked him behind. I don't think he's catching quite enough, but we see Luke. Is Luke going to challenge Swizzy into turn 1? No, Luke stays behind for now. Coach going a bit defensive into turn 1. Is that going to ruin his lineup into turn 3? Is Swizzy picking up a half a second penalty? That would not do his race any good. Can Swizzy get past and try and build a little bit of a gap before he has to serve his penalty at the other half of the lap? Swizzy looks to the outside of Coach. Coach holds the apex. Says Swizzy, if you want to do this move, you're going to have to do it at the next corner into turn 4. The line they took gives Swizzy the better exit down the back straight, going into the next corner. Swizzy looking at the inside. Can he outbrake Coach? He does outbrake Coach. He's alongside up the inside. There's a slight bit of rubbing, but Swizzy is through in the end, Sarah.
Yeah, and Midnight also going side by side with Coach. Midnight's trying to claim that final step on the podium. And I've got to say, what a battle between these 4. I think Deadline will be loving it at the moment.
Deadline to escape. Midnight going around the outside of Coach. Swizzy serving his penalty. Can he hold second place going into the next set of corners? Or possibly be a bit vulnerable on going onto the front straight? It's Midnight looking possibly at the inside into the final corner. That would be a brave move if you want to do that, Luke. But now onto the front straight. Luke. It goes Swizzy P2, followed by Midnight in P3 and Coach in 4. Luke, that gap slowly closing. Oh, as we see Midnight possibly running into the back of Swizzy there, Sarah.
Yeah, a little tap, no damage caused between the two, which is always good. You don't want damage to kind of hamper your race, especially if you're having a strong one. But yeah, the battle between these 3, especially Swizzy down to Coach, it's hard to predict where they're all going to finish. Yeah, to be fair, the people behind him, Pedro's looking to try and get closer to that battle as well. And we might see the reoccurrence of Battle of the Genesis yet again. Those two seem to kind of race fairly and quite hard against each other. Obviously wanting to be that top Genesis. But other than that, yeah, Deadline, again, he'll be looking behind him now. With Swizzy, the gap coming down to less than a second. I've got to say, is Swizzy even stoppable at this point? He seems to get penalties, but then he seems to be so close to that top spot. If not getting the top spot within the next couple of laps, he seems unstoppable these days.
Yeah, when you got the pace of Swizzy, I guess the penalties don't really matter. As we see Swizzy getting a better exit out of that final corner. looking to challenge Deadline and someone. Deadline going defensive. He swings to the right, trying to Swizzy out the outside of the track. Oh, was there a bit
Squeezy.
of contact there? I'm not sure. There's still running. Swizzy tucks him behind, looking, trying to force the inside door open, but Deadline says no. My car is there as he tries to outbrake Deadline into turn 3. Can Swizzy do it? Deadline holds the apex,
Ooh.
slams the door on Swizzy on the exit. Swizzy again with the better traction out of turn 3, running looking into turn 4. Swizzy goes to the outside. Deadline swings over to squeeze Swizzy, and up defending up the inside. Deadline breaks a bit late, holds the apex of the corner. Tells Swizzy, if you want to do this job, you have to do it the long way, go around the outside. But this gives Swizzy the inside for the next corner, to which Swizzy says thank you very much and goes in front of Deadline, Sarah.
Yeah, Swizzy looked like he was biding his time there. He was waiting for Deadline to leave that door open just a little bit so he could squeeze his way through. But that has also brought Midnight back into the mix. As we see them,
Midnight
yeah, going side by side. Go ahead for it, Kirk. You go.
Midnight trying to hold it around the outside at the final corner, but that's not your preferred line. As Deadline gets the much better exit, and I'm sure it's painful to see Swizzy just disappear off to a distance now. As again, we see Deadline defending into turn 1 from Luke. Does he park it on the apex? He does what he needs to do. He reaches the apex and possibly pushes Midnight a bit wide, Sarah.
Yeah, a little bit of rub in there, as we say. But Deadline looking to hold on to that second place, obviously, because he knows that within a few... Oh, that looked like a heavy braking from them lot there. But yeah, I think Deadline knows that if he loses this position, he could lose the podium as well. Obviously, Coach and Pedro now in the battle as well. So, because everyone's so close, it's that thing. It's, do you defend? Do you kind of like race with them? But then if you race with them and it doesn't quite go your way, you might lose a podium position. And you might not just go down 1 or 2 places, you might go 3 or 4 because everyone's so close together. But that's what we like to see. We like to see everyone close together. Oh, I just went on board with Ziggy and he's reversing. Sorry, Ziggy. I didn't even realise it was the end there. I was watching someone else. We missed Swizzy coming across the line, but Deadline loses the podium. He loses the podium. I did not see that coming. Probably because I was looking at someone else. But so yeah, like I said, Deadline losing that podium drive because of Coach and Midnight being so close. Must have made a mistake there. Definitely one to watch on the replays in the highlights later on. Yeah, GG to everyone. And also hello, Jeannie. Yeah, everyone was racing with a lot of respect there. Good, clean racing, what we like to see. Especially in our final race of the season. Kind of you end the season on a high, which is always good. And I will make sure to save the replay. But yeah, what a battle. We were looking...
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah.
Yeah, we were looking at that first to 4th place. I was having so much fun, I forgot that we were coming near to the end of the race. So I was looking elsewhere on the field, missing Swizzy coming across the line. But yeah, Kurt, give me your thoughts on that. Deadline out of the podium positions, losing 2 places to Coach and Midnight.
Yeah, absolutely. Deadline went wide at the penultimate corner, picking up a half-second penalty, which in the end was very crucial to him losing second place and almost very close finishing 5th behind Pedro, only 700ths of seconds due to the penalty from losing 4th to Pedro, Sarah. Very close race, especially second to fourth that entire race. So
Yeah.
maybe Swizzy's not as catchable as I thought he would be today, but it certainly doesn't mean that the podium will not be a tight fight for the podium finisher, Sarah.
Yeah, like like I said, I think Swizzy these days, he's unstoppable. It doesn't matter how many penalties he gets. He puts that he puts his foot to the floor as fast as he can and gets away from the field. And I'm really excited for the qualifying and then the feature race after that sprint race. It just showed that everyone's put a lot of miles around this track. Everyone knows it quite well, which obviously brings for some good racing. But as they get ready for the qualifying, we've got again some new graphics over here. But this graphic here shows the total points, obviously from round 1 to 7 from this season. As you can see, Swizzy storming up ahead, going over 400 points. So if that doesn't show how kind of unstoppable he's been this season, I don't know what else does. But yeah, everyone else, obviously, the points across the board, and I think everyone's done really well throughout the season. A lot of points gained. And as you can see from this graphic here, it's all to play for in the final race. There's a lot of positions that could change going into the final. And I'm sure that sprint race again will play into that.
Yeah, also crucially, Pedro finishing in front of Sim Race Dude in that little battle for P4 we have going on, Sarah.
Yeah, that will definitely help Pedro secure his position. And I'm sure he'll be happy with that, despite obviously picking up a few penalties. But like I said, he'll know where he's got the penalties, so he'll try and avoid that in qualifying and the feature race. But yeah, this graphic here also shows the average points scored per race. As you can see again, Swizzy getting near or close to the maximum that you can across a sprint and a feature race. And surprisingly, Kai not far behind. And again, throughout the field, it kind of shows everyone's average score per race from round 1 to 7. And like I've always said throughout the whole season. Sorry, what did you say there, Kirk?
I think we need a little bit of an asterisk because it's not quite accurate for people like Louis. You only took part in one race, you know.
Yeah,
Louis, he would have probably got a lot more points if he took part in all the races.
Yeah, obviously this includes all the reserves that we've seen this season, and unfortunately some people that have had to pull out due to internet issues or some issues. Like Kirk said there, some scores not representative of the person or their skill level. This is just obviously the drivers that we've seen. And when we've seen them, obviously I think Coach, if Coach was here all season long, again his average scores per race would be a lot higher as well. This is just obviously going off the data we have. But again, it shows, like I've said all season long, points make prizes at the end of the day. It's worth finishing the race. It's worth getting those points because it will help, you know, the championship battle and also kind of fighting the people around you. Everyone's just getting ready for qualifying, so I'm going to put it on. This one here. So we can see the championship standings going into the final feature race of season 1. And then we will get ready for some track facts while we watch the qualifying. So as you can see here, Swizzy, obviously this was before the sprint race, so as it stood after round 7, Swizzy with 430 points, Kai in second with 366. Obviously, Kai not competing today does mean that Swizzy looks like he's going to seal his championship. Other than that, we've got a potential battle between Pedro and McManley. It depends if Pedro can maximise his points or Mac getting another podium. Again, I think it will seal his third place in the championship. But as Kirk alluded to earlier, we've got a battle between Sim Race Dude and Pedro, obviously a few points away from each other. We then have Lee and Big Crazy Bertie potentially in a fight, and Coach not too far behind after that sprint race. But I think Midnight also, but after the end of today, will definitely make his way into the top 10. And a lot of people getting a lot of points today. So expect this driver standings to change dramatically after the final race. And I've got to say, everyone that's competed in this season, a massive well done to everyone. You've been nothing but amazing all season long. And I hope to see you all, if not some more people, join in for season 2. But yeah, qualifying has just got it started.
I'm looking forward to season 2.
Me too. Obviously, the details behind the scenes are being finalised. We will know, and we will be able to give you more details as we know as well. But as we go on to the qualifying, let's talk about the track that we're racing today. So tonight at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, the track itself is 2.7 miles or 4.3 kilometres long. This is one of the tracks that most drivers in the championship have been looking forward to, as we tend to gravitate here quite a lot. A lot of us have driven many miles around this track in both lobbies and other leagues. The circuit opened in 1969 as the Osterreich Ring, and this Osterreich Ring track was situated in the Styrian Mountains, and it was visually spectacular and a very scenic circuit, as we can see. From the outset, it was designed to be a real driver circuit, with every corner a fast sweeping corner, which usually is taken in a minimum of 3rd or 4th gear, so as you can see, very fast sweeping corners. It took a number of years, but eventually Mazachitz decided to bring back the racing here as part of a wider project to support the local Spielberg economy, and with an eye on recapturing an F1 race here. As part of the Project Spielberg, Red Bull invested heavily in the circuit, and after that it was renamed the Red Bull Ring. The circuit then reopened in May 2011 after some years kind of laying dormant for a while. But I think we could talk about this track all day, as it's one of our personal favourite tracks to drive on GT7 and GT Sport. But Kirk, what are your thoughts about this track?
The Red Bull Ring, should I say, is a track that I like, but also a track that can bring great annoyance. Though simple, it is also simple to make a mistake. And very easy to pick up a penalty or lose half a second by braking a bit too late or going a bit too wide and missing your apex. As this track is a track, as you said before, we've got a lot of sweeping long corners, but also a tight hairpin, which really makes this a track that, although simple, it does require some skill, especially on traction zones on the exit of turn 3 and turn 1, where it could really unsettle the car if you hit too much of that inside curb. This is also a track that I find really, really helps the brave. It's in the middle sector for sure. With the two long sweeping lefts, you need to make sure that you're carrying the speed into the apex of the corner, but also not running wide an exit, or maybe putting the throttle down a bit too hard and getting a bit of oversteer. And then that leads us on to the final two right-handers, which again, you have to be very committed to get through correctly. And you really need to attack the inside curb on both corners to not run too wide on exit. But also two corners where if you don't get it right and get it a bit wrong, as we saw in the sprint race, it's so easy to get a half-second penalty, like what happened to Deadline. He went a bit wide at the penultimate corner and picked a half-second penalty that dropped him from 2nd to 4th. I see it as a track that you really need to be consistent at, because it's so easy to get a penalty. the consistency is where you'll find your position, Sarah.
Couldn't agree more. I think, to be fair, all season long as well, consistency is key, and it's massively rewarded around a track like this. And thank you, Kirk, for that very detailed rundown. Appreciate it. And yeah, we've both driven a lot of miles around this track, and like you said, I think a lot of drivers will be wanting to kind of stay away from the penalties because they will build up if they do keep getting them during the feature race. They do build up. Obviously, with the strategy, it could slightly knock off their strategies. But yeah, as we are on to qualifying, obviously Swizzy with quite a fast lap. But who do you think will take the pole position for our final race of the season?
I think seeing how quick he was, it's difficult not to say Swizzy, Sarah. Difficult not to say Swizzy, although he is qualifying on the soft tyres. And I look on the grid, and we see a mix of both soft and medium tyres. I think if Swizzy's plan is correct and he qualifies on pole and just runs away out front, so my money, just because he's on the soft tyres, is Swizzy to be on pole, Sarah.
Yeah, I don't blame you for making that decision there, because like I said, Swizzy with a very fast lap. Swizzy normally doesn't go on the soft so an interesting call there. Usually, from what I've seen throughout the season, he likes to kind of get the qualifying done on the mediums, know that he can go a little bit longer into the race. But as we've seen recently, the mediums just feel that a little bit kind of harder to drive on, so maybe he's kind of leaned into the strength on the softs, and like Kirk said, getting some fast first kind of opening laps done, and sailing away probably, and getting a huge gap to the drivers, and then he'll look obviously to pit and change the tyres. But yeah, a lot of drivers on a mix of tyres. We have Pedro on the mediums. Yeah, of course, go for it.
Yeah, if I might add, we saw it at Fuji, didn't we? Where Deadline qualified on the soft tyre and was really able to hold Swizzy up on the medium tyre, which is probably what Swizzy could have took into consideration when choosing his qualifying tyre. He don't want the likes of maybe Deadline and McManley out qualifying him on the soft tyre and really holding him up when his medium tyres come into their own. So that's why he's probably chosen the soft tyres, Sarah.
Yeah, and we all know that Swizzy is fully capable of kind of getting away from the pole, kind of staying out of trouble, staying out of that first corner, first lap drama, and he's usually quite good of kind of settling into the race quite quickly, and I think he'll definitely be able to do that on the softs. And I couldn't agree more. I think, knowing that obviously Deadline is on the softs as well, I can imagine that those two will be battling it out. Obviously Pedro on the mediums might be able to go that a little bit longer than the two around him, but I've got to say, Pedro on the set of mediums, that is quite a fast lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Pedro setting a 28.8, going in front of the soft runners of Deadline and Coach. I think he'll be very happy with that lap, Sarah.
I think he will indeed. Just looking on board with Fred and Bertie, both looking to improve their times. Currently up on their times, so we'll stay on board with Fred. Let's see where he can jump up into. But having a quick scan along the field, everyone is remarkably close together.
As I said, Austria is a pretty simple track, so there's not really a lot of place to gain time compared to our fastest runners. Say we see McManley taking P3 away from deadline by 17 thousandths of a second, Sarah.
Yeah, I think both of those United boys will be swapping positions quite a lot. They seem to be quite similarly paced, but McManley has had some strong showings in that AMG. So I feel like he's probably a little bit stronger than Deadline in that RX vision. But I wouldn't write Deadline off. They'll be swapping positions probably more than we could even say.
First driver to set a lap it's going to be Lee. It's Lee's final lap of the session. Can Lee improve? He does to go P8, Sarah. And Deadline follows up with an improvement, going second, beating Pedro by 4 thousandths of a second.
Oof.
So it'd be crucial for Pedro to improve this lap, or he will be starting behind Deadline, Sarah.
Yeah, as we go on
To
board
which
with
Pedro is
Pedro.
up in the middle sector.
We both had the
He's
same
up by
thought there.
half a tenth. Yeah, up by half a tenth in the middle sector. Can he keep that improvement, or possibly find a bit more time in the final sector? He breaks late. Can he maybe a little bit wider than he would like to be on the penultimate corner? But he has to take a lot of this inside curb. Again, he's wide. Is that costing P2 on the grid as he runs up to the line? Is he going to improve? No, he doesn't. He goes 2.5 tenths slower than the lap he previously set, Sarah.
Yeah, I feel you captured it perfectly there. I think coming into the the final couple of corners, going a little bit wide and a little bit kind of squirrely, did lose him quite a lot of time. But I think he's got to take the victory of obviously being that first medium kind of driver in third place. Very, very, very close behind Deadline, who's on the soft. So, if anything, that kind of shows that Pedro has a lot of pace in that Genesis around here.
Absolutely, and you could possibly say that if any weather was to come, like in the midpoint of the race, Pedro would probably be the best suited to be able to jump deadline or Swizzy, Sarah.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Oh, sorry about this. My picture has changed. You should have been able to see the there we are. The feature race podium of last week. So, as we go into this one, last week's feature race podium was none other than Swizzy in that GTR, capturing first place. We then had McManley in the Mercedes AMG in second, and KD the Kai in third. As you can tell, we've had quite a lot of people visiting the podium rooms, but two people that have kind of held a couple of steps on the podium throughout the season have been Swizzy and KD the Kai, and I think that's representative of their positions in the championship. They've I've always seen their avatars on the podium, so I have no doubts that Swizzy will be able to do it again in the final feature race. What do you think, Kirk?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we usually see both KD and Swizzy on the podium, but like Kai is obviously had the pedal malfunction and not here tonight. Can we see someone new on the podium tonight? Whether it be a sim race dude, we might see Pedro on the podium again, possibly. Yeah, possibly see like Pedro on the podium, as we saw in the sprint race and qualifying. He's right up there in terms of pace, even on the medium tyre. This could be a good race for Deadline as well. Obviously, Deadline possibly not looking at challenging Swizzy, as Swizzy may be a bit too fast for him. But if he can make that soft tyre work in the first few laps, it could give him quite a good margin to really develop a quite good race too, Sarah.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. So, before the race starts, Kirk, if you want to run us through our top 8 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there any doubt? Was there any doubt for Swizzy getting pole tonight with a 28-1? What an absolute donker of a lap from Swizzy. Obviously on the soft tyre. Followed by Deadline, who set a 28-8, going 6 thousandths of a second quicker. and Pedro in P3. But obviously Pedro being on our first of our medium runners tonight in P3. Followed by McManley, who's 3/10 back, who also qualified on the medium tyre. I'm sure he'd be very happy with that. I'm sure if he can stick in Pedro's slipstream, he could possibly save a bit of fuel and be able to go a bit deeper into the race and try and overcut Pedro or challenge Pedro further on into the race with any fuel that he has saved. After that, we have coach in P5, again, another 3/10 back from McManley. Sim Race Dude is probably not very happy with Pedro being on the podium due to their tight battle in the championship. Midnight in P7 and Lee qualifying 8th. Sarah, if you want to take down the rest of the grid.
I can indeed. As we get ready for lights out and away we go. We have then Bertie in P9, Ziggy in P10, Fred in P11, and rounding off our grid today is Nick in P12. Kirk, take it away as we get ready for our first lap.
So we have Swizzy leading us away today for our sprint race. A very good start from him with what he wanted. We see Deadline possibly being under pressure from McManley, with McManley being able to get the inside into turn 1. We see Pedro going a bit deep and wide into turn 1. We also see another car run wide at the back there. Possible bit of contact there from between McManley and Deadline, but it's running single file. The top 3 running single file going into turn 3. Is Deadline going to look up the inside? McManley closes the door, and then is that a possible late move from McManley? Possibly. Deadline trying to take advantage of them soft tyres, but possibly being nudged slightly wide again. As we see a penalty picked up by Pedro at the back, possibly from him running wide at the exit of the first corner. But we see Deadline and McManley going side by side to this turn 4. Deadline being able to hold it on the soft tyre, and McManley knowing that this isn't his fight just yet. Oh, very, very close contact there between them both, Sarah.
Yeah, I've got to say, very close for everyone there. It's that sort of thing that you want to get away clean, but you want to keep with the pack. So a lot of rubbing, shall we say. But I'm glad to see that everyone got away, and we'll start to settle into the race. Yeah, Pedro unfortunately losing a few positions there due to a penalty, but everyone else getting away nicely. We have our Swizzy already having a 2.2 second lead at the end of the first lap. If that doesn't say anything like about his kind of championship fight that he's had throughout the season, I don't know what else does.
We see McManley is pushing Deadline through the corners. Is McManley going to be able to get past him on the run up to turn 3 this time? Deadline, is he going to defend? He's not defending. McManley's pushing him. And maybe he's going to look into turn 4 for this overtake to happen, Sarah.
Yeah, I think, well, we obviously know that these two United boys, they know each other quite well. They probably know each other's racing lines like the back of their hands. So they'll probably both be looking to, I guess, not cause each other too much harm or too much time loss. But yeah, a lot of respect there. So I think obviously McManley biding his time to get in front of Deadline. Obviously he knows his time will come, and whenever Deadline opens that door just a little bit, I'm sure McManley will force his way through.
You just see Fred. I just saw Fred go a little bit wide on the exit at turn 4, putting a wheel into gravel and just letting Pedro slip through on the inside, which has also now put Fred under pressure from Ziggy further back, possibly looking to challenge down the front straight. Sarah.
Yes, I think Ziggy looking for a stronger feature race than sprint race. I'm sure the practice from the sprint race has got Ziggy in a good position to fight for a few positions here. As we saw Fred getting a half a second penalty.
I'm sure that was a code brown moment for both Deadline and McManley on the exit of turn 1, both getting very sideways as we give coach to run on McManley. His coach possibly looking to go around the outside of McManley. He's holding it around the outside. Can he get a better exit on this back straight on the run down to turn 4 than McManley? Is the coach tucked him behind? He's going to look around the outside of McManley. That's a brave move if he can get it to turn off. Can he outbrake McManley into this next corner? McManley breaks slightly later. That gives him the preferred inside line to be able to take the race amount on exit. But it's not over yet as McManley again is closed. Oh, should I say Coach is closed into the next corner. He dives down the inside. Can he get it stopped? Ooh, possible bit of contact there, a bit of rubbing there, Sarah, but Coach is through.
What a move by Coach. Looked one way, thought better of it, looked the other way, got the move done. So, what a move from Coach there.
Absolutely, maybe a little bit too late to where McManley may have to turn out of the corner to be able to not avoid contact. So maybe aggressive, but maybe aggressive, but you can't fault him if he got the move done, Sarah.
Yeah, can't fault him indeed, obviously. Got in front of McManley at a crucial time, but I'm sure... Oh, that was definitely a collision there. Unfortunately, I think that'll be one for the stewards. I think McManley accidentally catching... Let's look at it on replay. Accidentally catching Coach off of turn 1 there. Yeah, catching Coach's rear right kind of fender, so unfortunate. Obviously that will cost Coach a lot of positions, but one for the stewards to look at afterwards.
Absolutely, very unfortunate for Coach. On them soft tyres, obviously possibly a bit quicker than McManley. Possibly maybe he is a bit slower in the apex of the corner, which may have caught McManley off guard a little bit. But now it's definitely going to be a recovery drive now from Coach Sarah.
Yeah.
As we see more contact at the back of the pack, with Fred going into the back of Ziggy, maybe making Ziggy go a bit deep. But no damage picked up from that, Sarah.
That's what we like to hear. Obviously, damage means when you come into pit, you have to spend less time in the pits, kind of repairing everything that's broken. But I'm sure, as I was just looking across the field, I'm sure Coach will be looking to kind of come in, change his strategy a little bit, and go longer into the race with not that front bumper damage. But as we look across the field, Swizzy 5 laps in and over a 5-second lead. This man is unstoppable in that GTR. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. When I think Swizzy can't surprise me, he always surprises me with something else. But yeah, obviously won't write off Deadline or McManley just yet, because it is a long race to go. But I mean, what can you say really? 5 laps in with a 5-second lead. Swizzy just showing that first position in the driver standings is secure, and he's keeping that position warm. But it seems we've got a little bit of a mid-pack battle brewing between Midnight and Pedro. And obviously behind them, again, everyone's from about 6th downwards is quite close to each other. I think all settling into the race now, kind of learning the lines of people around them, see where each other are, so that later on in the race they'll be able to fight a little bit more. But yeah, Pedro and Midnight coming quite close to each other there. I'm sure Pedro will be studying Midnight's line, looking where he can overtake or get a little bit of that slipstream. As we see Pedro diving into the inside. Is this a possible move here? Is Pedro going to pull it off? Oh, slightly outbrakes himself. Obviously, both of them side by side now.
Yeah, that was a beautiful cutback from Midnight, Sarah.
That was playing it smart, playing the long game. Obviously, knowing that Pedro's got a lot of speed, but will have to slow down quite dramatically, and Pedro just not being able to slow down enough to make that corner in front of Midnight. Saying that.
They say Midnight's Pedro's got, looks like Pedro sent it up the inside into turn 4 and took the place back from Midnight.
Yeah, let's watch that back on replay. Yeah, gets the move done before the corner. Gets in front of Midnight. And I'm sure he'll be looking to kind of catch the back of McManley now. But yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah. As we know, Manley getting very sideways on the exit of the corner. Can Pedro? Do you think Pedro has the pace in him to be able to catch McManley? Obviously, we saw in qualifying Pedro out-qualified McManley by about 0.3, but obviously qualifying pace and race pace are two completely different things, Sarah. As we see, the cloud is starting to lift. That very threatening cloud that we did have is now starting to lift, and the sun is coming out, Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, whenever we've had kind of the threat of rain, GT7 goes, nah, not today. Don't feel like raining.
Yeah.
Obviously, a long race to
We've
go.
seen
We
it,
might
yeah.
see the cloud come back, but yeah.
Yeah, we've seen at points the track get very dark, and we're expecting it to rain any second, and it just magically clears up again.
I wish that does it. I wish it did it in the UK. Whenever you see a cloud like that, you know it's gonna rain, and there's no doubt about it. But yeah, I think Pedro, like you said, he's very fast, and obviously he's got a lot of pace around here. I think I've got to say, if he can get, or kind of not get as many penalties as what he did in the sprint race, I think that will be a major factor as to whether he gets that last podium position towards the end of the race, because obviously we've seen Pedro picking up quite a few penalties. If he can pick up slightly less, I'm sure that battle will be on. What do you think? Can Pedro catch McManley and get that third place with the pace that he's got tonight?
I mean, right now, as it looks like, comparing the two drivers, McManley has used a bit more fuel compared to Pedro. However, McManley's tyres are in a bit better shape than Pedro's. So it's really still anyone could be taking this third place tonight.
Yeah.
But don't forget, they're also going to have to hunt down Deadline as well, because Deadline has started on the soft tyres. Therefore, McManley and Pedro are going to have the option of using a softer tyre to be able to catch that gap up to Deadline.
Yeah, Deadline obviously kind of steaming away at the moment with a 4-second gap between himself and McManley. He'll be looking to increase that gap a lot before he comes in and pits. But what you said there, obviously Mac and Pedro behind can go slightly longer into the race and have that option of the softer tyre towards the end. So I think it's all to play for between those three there. And I've got to say, we can't rule out our very own Midnight ISO. We all know that he likes to pick some, let's call it, unique strategies. We know that he likes to pick kind of your normal strategy call. So I'm intrigued to see what sort of strategy call he decides to go with today. Because I think that'll be a major factor as to where he finishes.
I don't want to say anything, but again, that sun has just gone behind cloud and it has gone very dark and threatening again, Sarah.
It has, yeah. Will the GT7 gods actually give us rain today? I mean, that'd be a pretty good end to season 1, you know? A little bit of weather. Because, funny enough, we picked tracks that have weather, and we picked it to, at some points to rain, and guess what? It didn't rain. So, I mean, that would be a good end to season 1 if it does rain. I think that will kind of throw the drivers to pick some different strategies. Obviously, see how everyone handles the rain. We've not seen it this season, but we all know that weather spices things up just that a little bit towards the end of the race. The coach back into 9th place, still carrying that a little bit of damage, so I can only assume that he's sticking to his original strategy call, waiting for kind of his pit stop, and then he'll repair that damage and look to get back up to that podium fight, if not quite high up in the midfield, securing himself a high position in the championship. As we see Midnight, our first pit stop, Midnight, going from the mediums on lap 10. Quite an early call. Maybe going for that unique strategy, pitting slightly earlier. You're getting off the mediums, which seem to be a little bit tricky at the moment, and maybe going onto a softer compound. Picking up a little bit of fuel as well, it looks like. Yeah, Midnight onto the softs, which brings him down to 11th place. Quite an early call, but obviously on a fresh set of softs, so let's see what Midnight can do. Let's see how fast he can catch the drivers and work his way back through the field. As you can see, a few drivers picking up a half a second penalty. It's very difficult around this track. It's very easy to do picking up penalties. If I was driving, I know I'd pick up quite a lot. But yeah,
I think I should be back now. Sorry about that.
It's all good, don't worry. I was just saying about Midnight pitting early, getting off of the mediums, going onto the softs on lap 10. And as I said that, Ziggy also going into the pits. It looks like he's going to come in, get a fresh set of tyres, repair that little bit of damage that he's got, and go a little bit longer into the race.
Absolutely. Is it me, or is it getting even darker on track as we see drivers?
It does look a little bit cloudy now.
Lights on that.
It does look a lot more cloudy than it did at the start of the race. Only time will tell if it's going to rain. Currently looks like it's a little bit too light to rain, but you never know. I'm hoping it rains, because it will spice it up a little bit. But we all know that a GT7 doesn't like to give us weather when we want weather. It's when you don't want weather, and you don't want it to rain, it will rain.
Yeah, absolutely.
GT7 logic.
If I just use a little cheat look on Luke's stream, yeah, it looks like no rain so far in the category, Sarah, in the local area.
Just a little bit of clouds then. The sun has put its hat on, but it hasn't gone away just yet. It's probably hiding behind those clouds, ready to come out again at some point during the race. I mean,
absolutely.
We all want weather, but I don't think we're going to get it.
Yeah, we all want it to be a bit rain to spice up the race, but right now, nothing is forecast.
I think for season 2, we're definitely going to have to do some new rain dances or something. We need some rain.
Absolutely, yeah. No one's going to catch Swizzy at this rate. This is really, again, Swizzy's race to lose. He got a 12.5 second gap to deadline, and it's 15 seconds back to his next realistic rival, which is McManley, Sarah.
Yeah, I think that championship kind of win is sealed and delivered. I've just noticed that every time I've gone on to Swizzy, his gap to deadline is the number of laps we're into the race. Last lap it was 12 seconds on lap 12. Now it's 13 seconds on lap 13. Is this some sort of record that Swizzy's going for? Could we see a 41 gap to deadline before the end of the race? You never know with Swizzy.
Yeah, absolutely, you never know. But just keep in mind, it is always possible that McManley and Pedro could come back at Swizzy, due to them being on a softer tyre. As we see, the sun has come out again, Sarah, after going very dark and threatening. The sun has come out.
Yep, it just maybe it's playing a game of peekaboo with us. It's like, oh, you thought I went? No, I'm still here, just hiding. But as we saw,
Absolutely.
Nick getting out of the way for Swizzy there. I've got to say, Nick has had a massive improvement over the last couple of races. I know he's been practicing with a couple of the Nighthawk members, and taking some time to practice the tracks. I've seen a huge improvement in his kind of racing ability and kind of racing awareness. So it's been a pleasure to see Nick improving throughout the season, and let's just say in season 2, obviously we'll be looking to do some more practice sessions, which I know I definitely will be at, because I need some practice. I'm kind of sad that I'm not racing the final race, so I can still go for my 100% spin record, but that'll have to do for season 2 maybe. But yeah, I've got to say, obviously we're watching Swizzy now. Swizzy to get 14 on lap 14 is a 14-second gap. I don't know what he's doing here, but I'm calling it now. Maybe we're going to have a 41-second gap to deadline behind, or whoever's behind. It's just, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it's weird. But just a huge mention to all of the drivers that we've seen competing throughout the season. I've got to say, it's been a pleasure, A, racing with you, and B, commentating and watching you all race. I think you've done a phenomenal job, and obviously I want to extend a massive thank you from myself and from the rest of the Nighthawk racing team. I know that kind of you don't see a lot of behind the scenes work, but we are trying to do a lot to show our appreciation for everybody, and getting season 2 kind of up and ready as soon as we can, because it's, like I said, it's been a pleasure racing and watching everybody and seeing everybody improve, and kind of the battles that we've seen throughout the season. Obviously, Kirk, I know you've been a regular kind of a visitor to the com box. What have you thought about the season as a whole so far?
I think it's been a pretty good season. So obviously, apart from Swizzy, basically winning everything, the battle in the mid pack has always been clean, fair, and quite close. There's always multiple strategies, so you never know what's going to happen next, who's catching who, until we whittle down to like the final 5 or 6 laps where we see drivers on the softs trying to hunt down the guys on the worn out medium tyres. I think it's been a fantastic season. Definitely a good benchmark to try and beat for season 2, and we're just going to see what season 2 brings to us, Sarah.
Yeah, obviously can't give you full details just yet, but let's just say some more exciting tracks coming your way, and maybe, just maybe, some weather. We might eventually get some weather. But yeah, obviously season 1 has taught us a lot. It's also kind of showed us everybody's kind of enthusiasm to race. It's been lovely to see people so eager to race within this championship, and hopefully we have everyone coming back for season 2 plus many more, which obviously might, we might get a little bit of a closer battle for the win of the championship. But I've got to give it to Swizzy. He's been phenomenal throughout, showing kind of the champion that he is. Obviously, he's had a few races where he's not necessarily been at his strongest, and obviously I think it was the Nürburgring sprint race that he didn't get on the podium. I think that was one of the first times we haven't seen him on the podium. But I've got to say, apart from that, Swizzy's been on the ball pretty much the whole time throughout the races, kind of showing his racing etiquette as well, his racing kind of experience, and the experience that he's used throughout the season. I think, a very, very worthy champion, shall I say.
Absolutely. Interesting enough, so deadline after his pit stop has been overcut by Midnight and I'm not quite sim race dude, but he's definitely been overcut by Midnight in the pit stop, Sarah.
Yeah, I've got to say, Midnight, always picking some random, some unique strategies. Not always, not all of them picking kind of. Sorry, I got my words mixed up there. Not all of them being beneficial to Midnight, but I'm sure Midnight's probably cooking something, cooking up a pit strategy that we wouldn't have assumed would be the optimal one. So I'm intrigued to see where he finishes towards the end of the race.
Interestingly enough, Manly boxing very early off their mediums.
Yeah.
Which sees Pedro and Lee both carry on their mediums. Fuel wise, they'll probably be pitting this lap because they're both looking quite low on fuel, Sarah. Lee and Pedro, that is.
Yeah. And the mediums on Pedro's Genesis looking about half worn on that left hand side. So I think you've called it there. I think both Lee, Pedro coming in this lap, if not next lap.
We see Lee battling with Swizzy, getting that inside line up into turn 4. Can he hold it? Pretty close between them. Swizzy holding it around the outside, which gives him the inside for turn 6. Lee still trying to hold it around the outside. Can he hold it around the outside? No, Swizzy on that fresh rubber and hold it in front of Lee right now, which would be very important for his race, Sarah.
Yeah, obviously not wanting to lose too much time battling with others. Swizzy will be looking to extend that gap again to his closest rivals. Technically, Swizzy doesn't have to. I think coming into the final today, he only had to get 3 points to win, and I think he definitely got more than 3 points.
I thought it was like as soon as Kai confirmed he couldn't race tonight, Swizzy automatically became champion because nobody could outscore.
That's true.
Swizzy was a champion before he even started.
Yeah, it was if Kai was here and he was obviously fighting Swizzy, if he had a really terrible race, only had to get 3 points to be the champion, I believe, or I can't remember what Midnight said, but yeah, it's pretty much sealed. Even if Kai was here, but Kai would have obviously been able to kind of not let Swizzy get away with it so easily. But like I said a minute ago, Swizzy, worthy champion.
Pedro is undercut Manly, and they're both there with undercut deadline by over 7 seconds, Sarah. Obviously, deadline taking more fuel than both Pedro and Manly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And apart from sim race dude, everybody is in their actual positions, which sees Midnight promoted up into P2. Very impressive stuff, Sarah.
Yeah, just showing that kind of that strategy that other people might not necessarily think of is sometimes the better one to go for. Kind of a little bit less orthodox, kind of pitting when you wouldn't necessarily pit or expect to be pitting, showing that obviously that the early pit stop can be beneficial for undercutting a few people.
Nick possibly getting in the way of Lee and Ziggy there in the middle sector. Sarah, if you want to rewind that.
Yeah. Might have just missed it as I was kind of searching for them. I just caught the back of that. Yeah, unfortunately didn't quite catch the full moment there, but yeah, obviously Fred and Coach looking to go through Nick at the moment, going into turn 1. Like I said, Nick's been improving race on race, so kind of obviously we've seen him improve throughout, getting out of the way of people quite quickly, showing that a lot of respect to the other drivers, which I'm sure the other drivers really appreciate. Yeah,
Absolutely.
just looking at everyone, obviously Midnight going onto the softs, Pedro also going onto the softs, McManley all on softs, so they're going to be matched for pace shortly. Obviously, Pedro and McManley got slightly fresher shoes on than Midnight, but Midnight will be looking to kind of keep as close as he can to these two for as long as he can. I'm intrigued to see where Midnight comes out.
More. Yeah, if I could just add quickly, although Midnight's tires may be slightly more worn, he is carrying about a quarter of a tank less fuel, which should help him in a straight line and be able to defend from the Genesis and the Mert of Pedro and McManley, respectively, Sarah.
Yeah, and we all know that Midnight is quite strong around this track. Obviously, we've both raced him in leagues around here and in lobbies. We know that this track is probably one of his strongest tracks, I reckon. So, like you said, obviously having that slightly less fuel, he'll be able to defend from Pedro that a little bit longer, and obviously for his next pit stop. But a lot of people, I'm assuming, going for the 2-stop. Obviously, we've still got 21 laps to go. So, I mean,
Yeah, it looks like it.
Looking across the field, looks like there's going to be some interesting calls coming up.
So, is it possible? Because I think Deadline ain't got enough fuel to make it to the end. I think possibly maybe a last sprint to the finish. From Deadline. I think maybe the likes of Pedro or McManley possibly pitted too early or didn't save enough fuel to be able to take a second set of softs to the end, Sarah. And obviously they both pit very, very early as we see Pedro looking at the inside of Luke up into turn 3. Can he outbrake Luke? He's got the inside line. He breaks a bit later than Luke. Can he reach the apex? He does reach the apex. But then Luke gets the cutback. A beautiful under cutback by Luke.
I was going to say,
McLaren.
Luke has pretty much nailed down that switchback. Obviously, we've seen that happen a few times.
But the power of the Genesis able to outdrag the McLaren into turn 4, Sarah.
Yes. I'm just trying to count as I'm going. Yeah. I'm like 1, 2, 3. Yes. I say sim race dude looking to hold on to that second place for as long as he can, obviously knowing that three people are behind him,
indicating to come into the pits to tell Pedro to go wide, as we see McManley also going up the inside of Luke into the penultimate corner.
Ooh.
Luke probably didn't fight that as much as he could, as we see Pedro getting very sideways on the exit of the final corner, Sarah.
I was going to say, that looked quite nerve-wracking. Obviously not what you want to happen coming out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Obviously losing a little bit of time to Mac.
He's going to put Pedro into threat, possibly going into turn 4.
I believe so.
That gap is slowly closing between Pedro as Pedro goes deep into turn 3. Can Mac get a better exit than Pedro? That gap is just under 4 tenths. I think Pedro might have took a wide line to get a better exit to stop McManley being able to challenging him this lap, Sarah.
Yeah, he's placing that Genesis perfectly at the moment. Holding Mac behind him.
Any battling these guys do just helps Swizzy in the long run.
Oh, as we see. We spotted that at the same time. What happened here then?
Could you rewind that and see if you can catch anything about that, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm just having a little look now. I believe we might have missed that that time around. Obviously, not quite sure what happened there. That'll be one for the stewards to look at afterwards. Didn't quite catch what happened, but maybe, potentially, I don't know, some elbows out between the two of them.
Luke seems to be losing touch with Pedro Manley quite fast, Sarah, as that gap is now 2 seconds between him and Manley.
I believe Midnight is
Pushing 3
probably going
seconds.
to be pitting soon-ish. Obviously, we saw him pit at the end of lap 10, I believe. So, obviously, he's gone about 12, 13 laps on those soft tyres. I believe he's probably getting ready to pit again. Get on the fresh set of tyres, set of rubber, and bring the fight back to Mac and Pedro towards the end of the race. Obviously, I think he's at that stage where he's not fighting too hard to ruin kind of his strategy and or lose positions by going off. He's kind of keeping it calm and biding his time, trying to make his strategy work as best as he can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably best thing for him, you know. He knew this at this point of the race. Mac and Pedro aren't people he's racing with right now. Maybe he's looking at getting track position towards the end of the race and trying to defend a bit more. Then, Sarah.
Yeah. I think we all know that Midnight's definitely capable of doing that. It's just if he can kind of how long he can extend his stint for on those set of softs, obviously being over 10 laps old. That's potentially where he's losing quite a lot of time to obviously Mac and Pedro, because they pitted not that long ago compared to Midnight. So, yeah. I remember Midnight saying what his strategy was, but I can't remember. Which is helpful, I know. But I know it was unique, to say the least. So, yeah, I'm hoping that he can pull it off and bring the fight back to Mac and Pedro towards the end of the race. And saying that, obviously 24 laps in, we still have Mr. Swizzy in first place with a 21-second lead. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not 25 seconds. I'm joking. But yeah, obviously over 20 seconds gap towards Pedro in second place.
I think Pedro running wide again. That could possibly be a penalty for Pedro, as we see Nick blocking McManley at the final corner and unintentionally causing McManley to check up because of that. So I don't know if you got a replay of that.
I can try to. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can have a little look. Oh, unfortunately, after that, I think obviously Nick has seen Pedro coming through, and moved out of the way for Pedro. But little did you know that obviously Mac was quite close behind. He's gone back onto the racing line, and like you say, just a little bit of a kind of a brake check from Mac. Obviously, nearly facing the wrong way, but manages to hold on to it.
We get another verbal complaint to Fred from Lee as well, Sarah.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that either. I did see it. Obviously, I went to the replay of Nick. Obviously, I couldn't go to both. But yeah, potentially. I'm not sure what's gone on with those people there. We have missed it. Obviously, I think it'll be one for the stewards. But maybe potentially elbows out and a few casualties, potentially.
No, it looks like Fred's waiting up to give Lee the position back, Sarah.
Yeah, I did see that. Obviously, hopefully, he'll be able to come through. Obviously, Lee going back into 7th place. Yeah, I think obviously, without knowing what happened, we can't really comment too much. But yeah, back on to Pedro. The gap to McManley, 1.6 seconds. Those two have been quite closely matched throughout the race today, Mac and Pedro. Well, Pedro going very wide there. I'm not sure if there was a wheel on the track, but maybe around there you don't have to put a wheel around the track. But I think Pedro has to be careful about picking up too many penalties at this stage in the race, because we all know that penalties, especially if you get them towards the latter stage of a race, it does really hamper your finishing position. But as we look,
It must be Swizzy lapping Lee, who actually tried to challenge Swizzy after Swizzy come out the pits for the first time.
Yeah, if that doesn't show how fast Swizzy is, I don't know what else does. Yeah.
See Midnight hitting with 1% of fuel left.
Cutting it fine.
He's really trying to eke it out. Would you be tempted to try and take a set of mediums to the end now, Sarah? What's that about?
Ooh.
15 laps now to the end?
About 14 laps, yeah.
14, 15 laps.
Maybe he has. Well, those set of softs that he was on was about 13, 14 laps. So I think he could do it, you know. And I think he was emptying that fuel tank to put some rocket fuel in, so he can challenge Mac, Deadline, and Pedro. I don't think anyone will be able to challenge our Swizzy today. He's storming ahead with obviously over a 20-second lead. But yes, across the field, we obviously see Midnight come out in front of Coach. Like I said, I'm not sure what happened towards the back end of the field between a few of the drivers. But currently, on lap 27, we have Swizzy leading. We then have Pedro, Mac Manley, Deadline, Midnight coming out of the pits now. As you're saying that, I've just had a look in the background. Swizzy is not too far away from Midnight. Swizzy could lap Midnight. And again, if that doesn't show you how fast Swizzy is, I don't know what else does.
It's an absolute insane pace today from Swizzy. I mean, looking at his last few his last nine of his last 10 laps have all been in the 29, been below a 29.5. That is insane consistency from Swizzy. His last 10 laps have been within half a second of each other, Sarah. So that's just insane consistency there.
That is.
Swizzy.
I wish I had that consistency. Might have to, get a few tips from Swizzy. But I think Swizzy is definitely one of those drivers that it just shows, obviously, that consistency is massively rewarded, especially in races like this. If you can get consistent lap times, lap on lap, and kind of, even if that lap time is faster than the people around you and you're always doing them, that's where that 20-second lap lead has come from. He's just not been too bothered about what's happened around him. He's just obviously doing his own little race. But I mean, what a race he's having! He's very consistent. He's very fast. It's just very good.
Say that again, can't you? Very good.
Well, more than good. But yeah, obviously Swizzy signing for a new team as well. Obviously sporting a new livery as well. To do with the team that he's signed for. And obviously we wish him well for that as well. But yeah, I mean, Swizzy is very hard on himself sometimes when he doesn't have a good race in his terms. But do you reckon he'll be happy with today's race, Kirk?
I mean, I can't see how he couldn't be happy. Although, maybe in the sprint race picking up one or two unnecessary penalties. Well, obviously didn't affect him in the end, because he won. But I don't think anyone could really fault him today for for this race today, as we see Swizzy pitting now. Probably take a soft to the end. It'd be interesting to see where Pedro goes. Does Pedro take the lead for a lap? Does McManley try and undercut Pedro by a lap? Yeah, just see where we go now, Sarah.
Yeah, obviously we see Pedro coming on the back of Nick again. Ooh, that looked very close between Nick and Pedro there. But yeah, obviously both Pedro and McManley staying out for another lap. I'm wondering if obviously Mac will basically copy and paste what Pedro does to stay with him. But
I don't know what's happened between Pedro and Nick, but that gap is close from 1.7 seconds to now less than half a second, Sarah.
yeah, unfortunately I was on board with
BTI.
that. Unfortunately, Nick coming out of the last few corners did slow Pedro right down. Obviously Pedro looking to not pick up damage, so had to slow right down to avoid Nick. Obviously that gap towards Mac has come down dramatically because of that. But he'll be looking to extend it, if not keep with Mac throughout the closing stages of this race.
I cannot believe Pedro and McManley are using the same set of tyres. Look how well McManley has conserved those front tyres, Sarah, compared to Pedro.
Oh my god! I was good. Are they even... What? Has Mac even kind of... They could go probably the whole 11 laps. Those front tyres. The rear tyres not so much, but the front tyres. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's astonishing, that the difference between obviously the Genesis and the AMG on tyre wear.
Controller and wheel user. So.
Yes, yeah, as well. Obviously both on the same amount of fuel. Whoa.
I'm not sure if Pedro is a controller user. Is Pedro a controller?
He is indeed, yes. So obviously burns through tyres a little bit more. But yeah, obviously it shows that if you're on a wheel, you're able to save that tyre wear just that little bit longer than the controller uses. But I mean, obviously they're two different cars as well.
Come out.
Yeah,
I'm not sure when Midnight's going to come out between this lot, but Midnight looks like he's going to be nowhere near Pedro or McManley, Sarah.
No, I'm on board with Midnight now. Yeah, Midnight not coming close to them, as obviously McManley and Pedro coming out of the pits now.
Is he even going to be able to overtake Deadline towards the end? Deadline for the final few laps.
He might just overtake Deadline. Deadline taking on that little bit more fuel. Does Deadline... That's a lot of fuel for Deadline to be picking up. Yeah. Obviously 10 laps to go. That's probably why.
We see McManley got past Pedro, and we see Pedro trying to take a look around the outside of McManley.
Let's have a
McManley holds it for now.
Well, we just missed that.
I'm not sure if lack traffic had a role in that this time, or whether
potentially. Obviously, we see
like
Ziggy
that.
just behind Pedro, so potentially lap traffic helping the switch. But yeah, just didn't quite catch what happened there. But I'm sure Pedro will be right on McManley's tail, ready to go again. But thank you very much, Jeannie. Appreciate you and wishing you all the best for season 2. Thank you very much. And if anyone is on GT7 and wants to come and race with us, by all means, we're always looking for new people that are obviously enthusiastic about racing. We're a good bunch of people here. So as you can see, a lot of respect throughout the field. So yeah, if there is anybody
Ranger skills as well. Obviously, we see absolute e-sport monsters in Swizzy. A few faster drivers, and obviously a few of our lower down drivers. You know, Ranger skills that anyone can take part as long as you're respectful and clean. You know,
exactly.
You could start anywhere on this grid, Sarah.
Exactly, that is key. Obviously, respect. Doesn't matter what skill level you are. Obviously, like Kirk said, loads of different skill levels, and for season 2 we will be doing more practice sessions as a group, so we'll kind of be looking to help improve each other's kind of racing style, racing pace, everything, so because we like to help each other out here, and if obviously that's the sort of racing that you like, feel free, if you need any of the Discord details, we can more than willing to get them for you and send them out to you. But yeah, if there is any bods that want to come and join us, feel free, and we'd be lucky to have you in season 2.
We still see Pedro and McManley within a second of each other. You know, second place is still for absolutely anyone this race, Sarah.
It is, and I was just gonna have a look. Midnight coming out 20 seconds behind them, so potentially that unique strategy of Midnight's, meaning that obviously he's slightly further behind Pedro that he wanted to be, but still, I mean, a 4th place in a race like this is nothing to shrug your shoulders at. I'm sure he'll be happy with
Absolutely not. Yeah, I'm sure he'd be absolutely ecstatic with it. You know, Luke. I'm sure Luke wasn't expecting much more than a top 5 or 6 tonight, but getting top 4, although it's a bit far away from the podium, I'm sure it's nothing to shrug your shoulders at. I'm sure he'll be very happy with it.
Yeah, obviously a top 4 and a sprint race podium, so yeah, I'm sure he'll be very happy with tonight, and hopefully a few drivers will be happy with their performances tonight, because I've got to say, not a lot of drama, obviously a little bit of drama that we're not quite sure what happened, but not too much drama, and everyone's settling into the race, providing us with some good battles, so yeah, I mean, I'm impressed with everyone, I've got to say, so hopefully they're impressed with themselves as well.
It was very close between. Our closest battle on track right now is between McManley and Pedro for P2, which anyone could take. Do we know how many points McManley had to score tonight to be able to steal P2 away from Kai, Sarah?
I can have a look. I know Midnight is better with the numbers than me. So I'm just having a look. He's got a whole table that will tell me the point difference between the drivers if I find that. So points difference. The points difference between McManley and Kai is 69 points. So Mac having to score 69 or above to overtake Kai,
which would probably be close to maximum points.
Yeah, close to maximum points. 40. So I'm not quite sure.
I guess
it'll be close. I will be very close, but I'm not sure he'll be able to overtake Kai.
No, not with a P8 in the sprint race, unfortunately, from what McManley.
No.
But it's just between Pedro and Simrace do for P4 in the championship, to which it looks like it's going in Pedro's favour right now, with Pedro being in P3 and Simrace do being in P6 era.
Yeah. I mean, Simrace dude, again, he's had a very consistent drive, from what I can see. He stayed out of trouble as well. Obviously, Pedro just having that a little bit more pace around here. But again, Simrace dude, again, nothing to shrug your shoulders at. He's a P6, kind of better than the rest. Better than the podium drivers. I can't remember the saying. You know what I mean. He's outside, obviously, that top 5 group, but he's having a race of his own, a very consistent race. So again, I think he'll be very happy with that, and I'm sure it will help in his championship battle between Lee, who is behind him. I think obviously Simrace dude might lose won't be able to overtake Pedro, but I think he'll definitely hold that 5th place from Lee. As I was just quickly having a scan between the drivers, it is actually a lot closer than I thought it was. As we got some time, might as well run us through. So we have, obviously, the difference between KD the Kai and Swizzy was 64, but obviously with Kai not racing, that doesn't matter. But like I said a minute ago, McManley to Kai was a 69 point difference. Pedro to McManley, a 63 point difference. So I'm not sure, obviously, if it finishes the way it is now, I think McManley and Pedro will stay in those positions. Simrace Dude is only a point behind Pedro. Lee is 64 points behind Simrace Dude. Big Crazy Bertie is only 44 points away from Lee. Coach is 28 points away from Bertie. Deadline's 1 point away from Coach. Fred is 8 points behind Deadline. Midnight is only 1 point behind Fred. Stephen, who's not racing today. Koulios is... Where is Koulios? I've only just noticed that Koulios hasn't been here. Well.
Oh, poor Koulios.
Well, Koulios will be staying where he is. I didn't even notice he wasn't here. That's really bad. I was only 2 seconds, 2 points behind Ziggy, but obviously I'm not racing today. So Ziggy's 21 points behind Jabril. And Nick is 24 points away from me. So a lot of positions will change.
Like you're safe. It looks like you're safe for now, Sarah.
Woo! But yeah, a lot of positions will change. It's a lot closer than I thought it was. Just having a look at that kind of points difference between the drivers. Obviously, I think a lot of positions within the top 10 are going to change. And I'm sorry, Koulios, I didn't notice you went.
It looks like it's starting to get a bit dark again, but not really dark enough for rain yet, Sarah.
No. Looks like a nice little sunset on the way. The GT7 God's not gracing us with some rain today, unfortunately.
At all this season.
At all.
After a little bit.
We might have to,
we
might have to tempt the GT7 Gods to give us rain. Or, wink, wink, nudge, nudge for season 2. Yeah.
Swizzy is absolutely flying. Look, he's got a 27-second gap and he's still putting in purple sector, Sarah. He is absolutely flying.
It's unbelievable.
What can you do to combat someone as fast as Swizzy, Sarah?
I wish I had the answers. Otherwise, I'll be flying. But yeah, I don't know. Swizzy's just on another level. I mean, we use the term alien to describe people like Swizzy because no matter what he does, he's always kind of quite high up. He's very fast. He's very consistent, as you can see, of his times. And obviously setting purple sectors this late into the race. I mean, that just goes for another purple lap. I think he'll be looking to get into the 127s if he's very close. I reckon he can do it.
Just for reference, I thought I was a half competent driver. During practice, I could set a high 28, low 29, which would put me probably around midnight. In that gap between probably Pedro and midnight, if I was perfect every lap.
Yeah.
Do this sort of pace consistently. So Swizzy is an absolute demon at this game, Sarah.
He is indeed. He never seems to put a foot wrong. He's very, very consistent. He's, although picking up a few penalties here and there, he doesn't make many mistakes. So yeah, on another level is our Swizzy. Hello, Tomb. Yes, it is. It is Swizzy, also known as Oliver. He has been on another level today. Obviously, nearly 30-second gap towards McManley behind him. Let's have a look at that battle. Obviously, the battle between McManley and Pedro still could change. About a 1.3 second gap between those two, who have been battling it out most of the race.
We're going to see some rain because it's gone very hazy and very dark, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, what a last lap that would be if it was to rain. Yeah, waited for the last, just like the ultimate last lap of the last race of the season. Just to completely, torrential rain.
Absolutely, yeah, torrential. Do you like pit in with like a lap and a with like 2 laps to go and let the rain come in and try and gain some positions, or do you stay out?
I'd be staying out, like skidding everywhere, just doing some donuts in the rain, and skidding everywhere probably. It's got very dark.
Spin record.
Yeah, keeping it up. Got to keep that record up. Yeah, it's got very hazy. I'm not sure if that's kind of like sunset-y kind of haze, but
I mean, I'm on board with Big Crazy Bertie looking up towards turn 3, and I can't believe it isn't raining. There's so much so much moisture in the air, and it's so like foggy.
It does look very foggy, yeah. Very foggy indeed. But as we see, Swizzy on the final lap of the final race of the season. He's been on another level. This race
has absolutely flown by.
It has.
If you told me it's been an hour since this race has started, I wouldn't believe it. As we see Swizzy going purple again in the first sector.
That's a very Swizzy thing to do.
Is there any stopping this man? Is there any stopping this man, Sarah?
I don't. Unless, actually, I was going to say maybe with a blown tyre, but I reckon he'd be like Lewis Hamilton. He'd be able to finish with 3 wheels, if not 2 wheels. I think he's that sort of driver that, he probably even would set a purple lap on 3 wheels if that was the case. But, yeah, a very Swizzy thing to do, getting the purple lap on the final lap.
And is this going to be another perfect round for Swizzy? Because he took pole, he won the sprint race, and now is about to win the feature race. As he comes coming into the penultimate corner, is he going to go purple for the last time? As we say, to our season 1 champion coming towards the line, as we say, congratulations to Swizzy as he wins our final race of the season, Sarah.
Yeah, massive congratulations to our Swizzy. The Nighthawk Racing GT7 champion of Season 1. He is officially crowned as our Season 1 champion. I think he'll, like you say, after a perfect race, a near-on perfect race with the fastest lap, pole position and a win, he will be very happy with that. As we see on board with everyone coming across the line.
In the end, McManley stealing P2 away from Pedro, Sarah. Maybe a little bit of Nick intervention there to help McManley secure P2.
Potentially.
But to be fair, I mean, winning in the end, McManley won by over 3 seconds, so maybe he would have got past anyway, Sarah.
Yeah, it looked like McManley towards the end of that race did have a little bit more pace than Pedro, but yeah, I mean, lapped traffic around this sort of circuit where it's quite short, it obviously does cause a little bit of drama about getting around them, but
Oh,
Everyone did well.
as Bertie loses P10 on the run to the line.
I saw that. I saw in the background him spinning. I thought he would already finished by that point. But yeah, I'll save the replay because midnight never gives me enough time. But yes, what a race! What a final race of the season. I've got to say, I'm kind of sad that it's over. But we'll be back for season 2 very shortly. So keep your Wednesday nights free. And yeah, I mean, Kirk.
Oof. Yeah.
Thank you, KD the Kai. Appreciate it very much. KD the Kai saying to us, "Great comms too. Just keep getting better." Thank you, Kai. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Kai. Unfortunate not to have you here tonight, KD.
Yeah, we missed you. We missed you. And we were saying
no one to challenge Swizzy.
Yeah, we were saying we need that. We need someone to challenge Swizzy. He had a near-on perfect race, and we were missing you. Battling, and I'm sure you would have been able to kind of make sure that he didn't get quite so perfect final race of the season. But yeah, we missed you, and we hope to see you back in season 2. Obviously, you've been an amazing driver as well. We were talking about earlier that you've constantly been on the back of Swizzy, kind of challenging him for that top place in the championship and also on track. So it's been a pleasure commentating and racing alongside you. But Kirk, if you want to run me down the order of our final race of the season, and then we'll get ready to go and speak to the drivers. Sorry, Tim. I do apologise. The race time doesn't also suit my schedule. We'll have a look into season 2. Obviously, if you ping us a message about kind of like your scheduling times, and we'll see if we can get you in. Then obviously it'd be a pleasure to have you. But yeah, go away, go Kirk, go for
it. So, our season 1 champion and your winner tonight, we have Swizzy. Typical Swizzy performance. Got in front, didn't look back. In the end, winning from 30 seconds back to McManley, even more dominant than what he was in Suzuka. Also taking the fastest lap as well, so getting maximum points here tonight. After that, we have McManley in P2. We saw throughout the entire race, McManley and Pedro were neck and neck for the entirety of the race. Maybe, possibly, a little bit of outside interference helped McManley get past Pedro, but don't take anything away from McManley. It has been a very good drive today and takes P2. Pedro taking up 3rd, possibly a bit disappointed with that, but a podium is a podium, and he's done what he needed to do today and outscore Simrace Dude to secure P4 in the championship tonight. After that, we have a 4th from Luke. A little bit of no man's land from this race today. We saw after the first round of pit stops, Luke get up to P2 for a little while before getting overtaken by Pedro and McManley. But then he drops into P4 and didn't really look like challenging then. But I'm sure Luke will be very happy with P4, and he'll be living to fight another day, as they say. After that, we have Deadline in P5. Couldn't quite make the mediums work for him after he switched off the soft tyre. But at the end of the day, P5, very happy. That wheel obviously going very well for him. Finishing 5th. Simrace Dude in 6th. Possibly a bit disappointing not to be able to challenge or battle Pedro on track tonight. To really try and take that battle to him for P4. But I'm sure I'll be very happy with that. Coach recovering to P7 after a first lap incident with McManley, which caused him to spin and hit the barrier, coming into P7. Lee finishing P8 if you want to take down the second half of the grid, Sarah.
I can do, and thank you very much for doing that, Kirk. So, in 9th place, we have Ziggy. Obviously, a little bit of a challenging race for our Zig stuff. But, I mean, having a good race, as per usual. It's a pleasure to have Ziggy out on track. And I know that recently he's been having a lot of practice sessions with a few people. So a massive thank you to Ziggy for doing that. And yeah, like I say, a pleasure to see you out on track in P9. And in P10 we have Fred. Not sure what happened between Fred and a couple of drivers, but that will be one to look at afterwards. But Fred kind of finishing up that top 10 and securing himself some points for the championship. Like I say, the top 10 in the championship will, I think, definitely be changing after tonight. It will be juggling around. In the 11th, we have our big crazy birdie. As Midnight says, we know he's three things. I had to steal Midnight's line there. He's big, he's crazy, and he's Bertie. But Bertie in P11 in that McLaren. Obviously, we saw him lose that P10 right at the line. Not sure what happened there, but we all know how difficult that last few corners can be, especially this far into the race. And then, finishing off our grid tonight, we have our very own Nick. Nick finishing in P12. And like I said, it's been a pleasure to see Nick improve throughout the season. And I'm sure for Season 2 and the practice sessions that will be held, I'm sure he will look to be improving even more. And I've got to say, really proud of Nick for improving so much so quickly. And yeah, that rounds out our people today. Obviously missing Koulios again. I'll just double check that I've saved the replay. You know, yes, I have. So, if you want, Kirk, if you want to head over to the podium room and let's go chat to the drivers, shall we?
Absolutely.
Cool, I will see you over there in just a second. Right, so in the podium room, I've just got to change the settings to let the people in. There we are. So, if I drag McManley and Pedro in, got to figure out how to do this because I don't know how to do it. There is a Pedro. I've brought him in. And if we also bring McManley in. And we'll bring Swizzy in as well. Cool. Right, so who wants to go first? Or who do you want to ask first, Kirk? I'll let you take the floor first.
I think we should ask Swizzy today, our winner and our Season 1 champion. Is there any better way to introduce our very own Swizzy? What a fantastic drive you drove today, Swizzy. Do you think it could have gone any differently today, Swizzy?
I don't know. I think it's difficult to speculate, but I think I did very well on the both races. And feature race, no penalties, so very consistent and quite fast, I think. So I'm happy.
Yeah, quite fast. You're on a different level today. We were saying that you had nearly a perfect race with your consistency, the fastest lap, obviously pole to win. Yeah, we're very happy, and obviously we can officially now, obviously, call you our Season 1 champion. It has a nice ring to it. But Kirk, if you have any questions for our Swizzy, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, so Swizzy, we saw you qualified on the soft tyre. Was that Did you make that call based on what happened at previous rounds? As we saw in Fiji, we saw Deadline qualify on the soft tire when you were on the mediums, and he obviously overtook you and held you up for a bit. So is that why you qualified on the softs?
No, basically, I knew that on Red Bull Ring, the tire wear is always very, very lower, very much lower than any other tracks, basically. So I obviously did some testing, but I basically already knew that the soft tire is gonna be the best tire to start, at least for me, because you can easily do like 15 laps, probably close to 20 actually. Um, so yeah, I knew soft tire gonna be very good on Red Bull Ring. I mean, mediums were actually surprisingly good as well, but yeah, like normally I would always start with mediums, but Red Bull Ring is a different story.
Yeah, no worries. And then we also saw after your first stint, you switched to the mediums. Did you think that anything could go wrong at that point after you've done your first pit stop and come out? Obviously you were behind. I think was it you come out with Lee, and then obviously Lee tried to overtake you. But once after that first lap, when you pit and Lee pitted and you were by yourself, was there really any looking back for you?
Um, Basically, after first stint and qualifying, I knew that if I don't do any stupid mistakes or spin or have incident or something, I was confident that I'm gonna win. But I mean, obviously, you always want to have a nice battle on track, but at the same time, you know, obviously take the win, and I still enjoy it. Like it was very lonely race, but it's not easy to be, especially in this track, like avoiding penalties and be consistent, especially on turn one. I still was looking the gaps, and I think there was few moments when I saw the couple of guys behind me having a nice pace, but like I felt very confident after the first stint. I think I made big enough gap already, so yeah, clean race, nice race.
Yeah, I was having a little joke with
No,
Kirk
I've got
that
no more. Sorry.
sorry, I was having a little joke with Kirk saying that we were on like lap 11 or 12 and you had 11 or 12-second lead. I thought by the end of the race you might have a 41-second gap. You know, you seem to go up, the gap seemed to go up with the amount of laps that we were on. But yeah, I mean, a very strong drive from you, near on perfect, as me and Kirk said multiple times. And yeah, obviously, before we let you go, I just want to say a massive thank you for kind of having, well, having the pace you have for one, but also for racing all of the races this season, showing what an incredible driver you are. And thank you for being here. And like I said, officially, we can now call you our Season 1 champion. So a massive congratulations from all of us at the Nighthawk Racing. And hopefully we will see you in Season 2. And maybe we'll bring some challenges to you, so you can have a little bit of a fight and some less lonely racing.
First of all, thanks, and thanks to everyone who was taking a part of this league. And special thanks to, I mean, obviously everyone, and like Kai and Mac and everyone who was pushing me. But I also want to give recognition for Sim Race Dude, because I mean, I know him quite well and I know what he's capable of, but like driving that car, especially in some of these power tracks, I think, I don't know if he's happy himself, but like taking that car with no power basically and taking very nice results, that, yeah, like huge respect for him, and like especially using that kind of car. And I learned a lot on this league. It was like, getting me back to the game and trying to learn something. and I actually learned a lot, especially on race pace and saving tires and stuff like that. But and very keen to join on the next season. My new job is actually starting next week, so I don't know, you know, how I'm working because I do a long shift, but we will see. And if I'm capable, I'm obviously gonna join. And yeah, special thanks to everyone. Like, been very nice.
Yeah, no, it's been really nice to have you here. And it's been a pleasure, well, racing and obviously watching and commentating on you as well. And thank you very much for your time. And hopefully we will see you back for season 2. The details are still kind of being decided at the moment, but we will let everyone know as soon as we can. But yeah, just a massive congratulations and a massive thank you, Swizzy.
Likewise, likewise.
But yeah,
Thank you.
enjoy the victory. Enjoy being season 1 champion.
Yeah,
Cool.
I enjoy. See ya.
See you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Swizzy. Bye bye.
Right, who's next? Who wants to take the floor? Or Kirk, who do you want to ask next?
I think number 2 we should be McManley, our P2 finisher tonight. McManley.
Yeah, I think P2, but I'd say after race report comes out, I'd say P3 because I probably get a penalty. I don't know if you guys saw that on the stream. I hope you didn't see what happened.
We did.
But yeah, oh Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, it was very close. I've got to say, me and Kirk we were going, ooh. That's one to look at afterwards. Unfortunately, you and Coach come in together into turn 1. We did catch it, unfortunately. But apart from that, you had a very strong race, and I'll let Kirk take the floor if he has any questions for you.
So, what happened between you and Coach from your perspective? Do you want to talk us through what happened?
I mean, I was struggling all the races for some reason because I mean, I said in the chat before that the car was not good at this track. And that was pretty much proven because I couldn't overtake anybody because if I went at least like a meter off my braking line, I'd just like go straight off the track. So I braked where I normally would, and Coach like went wide. He didn't like, you usually want to be hitting the inside curb like at the apex to get the best turn in, but he didn't hit that, and he hit kind of the bump on turn 1 and went a bit wide. But I perfected like the apex. It was the one time I actually got turn 1 right, and the one time I got turn right, the one time I got turn 1 right, Coach had went wide, and as soon as I actually got through there, he was on my left, and I tried to slow down, but I hit him then. But like I didn't really know what happened on my screen because to me it looked like I pushed him forward, and then he spun on the curb himself. But I probably spun him round, but to me it looked like I pushed him and then he spun. But I think it was probably I pushed him round rather. But yeah, honestly, like it was my fault. I will admit it's my fault. I mean, I probably could have avoided it a bit better, but I was getting really frustrated because I felt I could have been on the back of deadline and the car just wasn't allowing me to do that. So yeah.
No worries. So obviously after that we saw a little battle with Pedro. Pedro getting held up by Nick possibly a little bit. Yeah. So how did the overtake on Pedro go from your end as well?
I'd say like Pedro was doing really well. I had no idea what tires he was on for the entire race. That's what I was trying to figure out. And to me, he might as well have been on softs the entire time because he was constantly quicker than me. But yeah, he was doing really well. I have to say, like no matter what tires he was on, he had a solid pace, and we were kind of taking time out of each other. I'd have to say we were pretty equally like matched like in all the sectors, and it was kind of just a game of I'd gain a few tenths on him, but he'd gain it back the next lap. So when Nick kind of I don't think I overtook him. I think I overtook him in the pits because I think Nick held him up, and then I went into the pit lane, and then I took less fuel because the Merc I was short shifting, so I could get a bit more fuel out of percentage or whatever. So I think the overtake was in the pits or I might just be forgetting honestly, but it was like did a really fantastic job, and I have to say like well done Pedro because you did a great performance out there.
Yeah, it was a pleasure watching you both battling it out. It looked very close throughout the whole of the race. Obviously, lap traffic caused a little bit of kind of hold up, but we also saw the the difference in tyre wear between you and Pedro, and it was very different. And me and Kirk picked it up that obviously you could go a little bit more than what Pedro could on those front tyres. But yeah. All in all, how do you feel that your sprint and feature race went today? Obviously, we know that you finished slightly further back in the sprint. How was that for you?
Yeah, honestly, I was saying to Swizzy after the race, I was asking Swizzy if he can teach me how to get through the pack because honestly, I don't know. I got past like 2 or 3 cars, and then I was like alongside Lee for a solid like 5 laps, and he was holding me up. I have to say, like he was doing Lee did an amazing defense, but yeah, honestly, it was I was getting extremely frustrated. If you watch back my stream, I was getting like extremely annoyed because not at Lee, I was getting extremely annoyed because the car, for some reason, what it was, people could overtake me from 8 tenths back by sending up the inside, and then as soon as I was 2 tenths behind someone, I couldn't even brake later by even a meter because the car would just start having a fit. So it was extremely frustrating, and that's that I just couldn't overtake people because yeah, I was having that issue. And then the endurance or the feature that was fine. I mean apart from the coach thing, like it was okay, but I think I think overall it's the same situation with the sprints as always. I don't have the best sprints. That's been proven already, but the feature was about as good as it could have been.
Yeah, again, you did a phenomenal job. It's been a pleasure to see you racing and your numerous livery changes.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but they've all looked really good. I've got to say. I think we can officially say that you got P3 in the championship. Obviously, we'll double check. I don't want to, say it and then it's not true. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
some solid drives from you throughout the season. Congratulations on P3 overall and being a podium kind of position in the first season. Hopefully, we'll see you back for season 2. But other than that, thank you for your time again. It's been a pleasure to race and commentate on you. And yeah, congratulations. As Midnight
Yeah, I
just
mean,
said,
like, good job.
Matt confirmed P3, so you can
Oh
officially
yeah.
say that you got P3.
I just want to thank everybody. Like, I'm not gonna call out any specific people, but like, I have to say, everyone as a collective was a pleasure to race against in this league. And obviously, I was mostly racing against Kai, the likes of Kai and Swizzy. But like, even during the sprint races, it was brilliant to have battles. Like as I said, Lee held me up for a solid like 6 laps. Held a solid defense. Not held up. He was quicker than me and had a solid defense for like 6 laps in the sprint, and it was really good to get that kind of racing. So like I have to say everyone did an amazing job, and like congrats Swizzy on the championship and well done Kai on the second position. I know he's not here right now, but I have to say like well done, and just like special thanks to Deadline and Steven for being in the party with me and listening to me ranting about my car being bad for 40 minutes. But yeah, I mean well done everybody.
Bozo.
Like it's been
Bozo.
amazing. It's been amazing. Thank you.
A massive thank you as well for your time and racing all the races throughout the season. And like I say, hopefully we'll see you back for season 2. Maybe challenging for that top spot or top 2. But yeah, congratulations, and we'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Hello, Pedro.
Hello.
You all good to speak?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, to start off with, talk us through your race, and then if Kirk, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, any particular race you want me to go through first?
You can just talk about your evening in general. How are you feeling?
I mean, yeah, it was. I think it was a fun event to end this season. I don't know. Like I felt like sprint race is always that bit where I feel like I always underperform, especially today. Like I felt like the car was really. I was really in tune with the car and felt like I had the pace to maybe finish on the podium on the sprint, but yeah, it was still very entertaining regardless. And then in the feature, I had a terrible lap one. Just obviously, I knew that I was kind of going to lose the position to Mac because like he's very good on the starts, and so is that AMG, very good car, like off the line. I still don't know what happened. Like I'd have to check the footage. Like I would work wide into turn one and then just lost a bunch of positions because of that. I think I did relatively well to recover. And then, I don't know, I always felt like I was really in tune with the car, as I said. It felt really good to drive. I wasn't really too bothered with the tire wear for this event, like for once, because I knew that the limiting factor was always going to be fuel, and I could, change the settings of the car a bit, like just use a different brake bias to really help me in terms of the driving rather than focusing on just tire saving, which was good.
One less thing to worry about.
Yeah. And then it was just really enjoyed the battle with Mac. I think he summed it up perfectly. Like we were just taking time off each other in different sections or in different laps as well. And I guess overall he was just a little bit quicker than me. Obviously, it was unfortunate that moment with Nick where he just, like at the final corner, he was trying to let me through, but then he just was a bit indecisive of where to go. But those things, like it's racing, and it happened to me. It could have happened to Mac if he was in my position. So, as frustrating as it is, like it's part of the game, I guess. And I don't know. I think Nick did the best he could there to really try and let us through. But I think that was really the key moment because it meant that coming into the pits, Mac was a lot closer to me than he probably was at the time. So. But honestly, really enjoyed the battles with him. Yeah, I think it was a fun race overall and a great way to finish our first season of the championship.
I'm glad to hear. Kirk, any questions?
We saw about halfway through the race, you possibly get held up by Nick, and then obviously that allowed McManley to challenge you or close the gap a bit. What was that from your perspective?
As I said, like it was one of those things. Like I saw that Nick was right ahead of me, and I think it was just like a whole bunch of conditions that kind of weren't ideal because like he was at the point of the track when it was difficult to let people through, and then I was trying to like see if he held his line into the final corner, and I was going to go to his right, but then last second he switches, like he just turned right, and I really had to stop.
You did well to avoid any damage there.
Yeah, no, that is true, and like I'm not blaming Nick or anything because like at the end of the day, like
these things happen.
I should have done
a track like
I should have done better. Yeah, like it's not that was going to make me lose the second place. I felt like I should have done better, perhaps in like a few of the stints. Like I was making mistakes of my own and getting loads of penalties.
We've got a message from our champion to you, Pedro, saying that you've improved a lot.
Thank you, Swizzy. I don't know. It's just one of those like missed opportunities, I guess, this race. But I'm still very happy with the fact that I got P3. Like I felt that I had really solid pace throughout. But going back to that situation, I guess it's like I don't think Nick could have done much more there. I guess, and as I said, like it happened to me, it could have happened to someone else. So it's sometimes being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Definitely around a track like this with sweeping corners, it is very hard to move out of the way at the last minute. But
Yeah,
Kirk, any more questions for our Pedro? Or
That's pretty much everything. Congratulations, Pedro. You did manage to beat Simray Student in the championship to
yeah,
finish
we
P4.
can
Yeah.
confirm a P4 for you, Pedro. Obviously, you missed out that first round, but obviously
Yeah.
been every round since. You've secured a P4, so massive congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, obviously, hopefully you're back for season 2. I mean, I'd be
Hopefully,
slightly
no.
worried if you
Of
weren't. But yeah, thank you again for all the hard work that you put in behind the scenes. And yeah, congratulations on P4. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And
Thank you.
congratulations again.
Thank you.
So,
I'll try
Pedro,
not to
just one more
extend
thing
much
before
more.
you go, Pedro.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
So next season, what are your goals for next season if you race?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'd be happy with the top 5 again, because obviously we've had a few drivers who unfortunately couldn't take part in the entire season for like different reasons, like Binny and Louis, who are both very fast drivers. So I guess if you add them into the mix, it's always another set of racers who are challenging you for the same positions. So I think like finishing in the top 5 maybe. But then again, like obviously there were people that couldn't do the entirety of the championship and that are very fast as well. Besides them, so yeah, I think ideally just go for the top 5 again.
No, I think that's definitely achievable. Obviously, racing against quite a high caliber of racing drivers around you, coming out of a P5 or a P4 in this case, just shows how fast you are yourself. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the P4.
Will do.
Cool.
Well, just before I go, and I don't really want to extend myself all that much because still have deadline that wants to talk. I would just want to thank obviously yourself, Sarah, and Midnight for trusting me with the admin role for this season. I want to thank in general like the whole admin team for the work that you guys have been doing throughout this entire season. Like I know it's our first season. We've had some experience in the past, but obviously are things that we needed to learn, and I think we've learned quite a lot throughout these events. And hopefully we've gained some valuable experience that we can carry through to the next seasons. Want to thank Kirk as well for doing a great job in commentary booth, like every week that he was.
I second that as well.
And in particular to all of the drivers who joined us, because like you're a great bunch of people, and obviously none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for you guys. So just want to thank everyone who joined us for this first season, and for obviously I know sometimes the whole situation wasn't ideal, but thank you for sticking with us and believing in us, and hopefully we can deliver again for season 2 and give you all a good championship and something to really look forward to. Yeah. I will say goodbye, and yeah, I'm looking forward to season 2. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry to keep you waiting, deadline.
Hi. Sorry, it's alright. It's alright.
But yeah, explain your evening today. Had a good one, or how you feeling?
Neutral. I'm I'm quite annoyed when it comes to the sprint race because of the last corner penalty. But overall, it could have been worse for me.
Yeah, so the penalties around here did catch quite a few people out today. Obviously, I think if I was racing as well, I'd be like, I'd be clocking up a lot. But Kirk, any questions for our deadline?
Absolutely deadline. So we saw in the first stint, obviously starting on the softs with Swizzy, you were up to P2 for that entire first stint. But after that, we didn't really see you up there. Was it just a case of the mediums didn't quite work or suit your driving style? Or was there something else that happened during that second stint that caused you to drop back?
It was generally just an overall lack of my general pace because usually in the main race I am not very quick. I can stay behind most people for quite a while, but usually the longer the race distance gets, the in air quotes the slower I get because yeah, I'm not really too sure why, but yeah, it's something I've kind of struggled on when it comes to the main race, the feature races at least. So it's just something I need to work on for season 2 at least.
Yeah, I mean it's been a
No
pleasure
worries.
watching you. Sorry, Kirk, go ahead.
We also saw in the sprint race a very good defensive drive from you. What was it from your perspective? How does it feel being driving defensively? Do you prefer defending to attacking, especially from faster drivers behind you?
Oh well, I do enjoy a bit of defense. I've always believed that probably a bit of ego kicking in here, but I always believed I was probably one of the more better drivers when it comes to the defense, and probably sometimes when it comes to overtaking drivers. Although that is a bit of a debatable one, especially as on ACC, but that's a different game. But yeah, I do enjoy the whole defensive game because that's where I really excel in, I believe. Because as I said, I'm not a very quick driver, so I put all of my time into making sure at least I can hold them back as long as I can. And it also helped that since it was Rebel Ring's quite easy to defend, on. So and yeah, as Susie said, the car definitely did help.
Yeah, talking about the car, obviously at the start of the season you're in the Lamborghini, and obviously you switched to the RX Vision. How have you got to grips with the RX Vision? Do you feel like you once you jumped into it you were quite comfortable? I mean the pace from you in the Lamborghini to you in the RX Vision, you've jumped up lots of places in the championship. Your place is still to be confirmed, so I can't quite say where you finished. But I'm sure after tonight you would have jumped up even further. But yeah, talk us through obviously that changing car and obviously hopefully a change in confidence as well.
To be fair, when it comes to the Huracan, it was mainly because since this was the season that I originally jumped on for wheel. Obviously, I picked the Huracan thinking it'd be all right, then realized how horrifically wrong I was picking the Huracan while still learning to drive on wheel. So it was quite rough, and for the first 2 rounds, as we've all probably seen. but then moving on to the RX Vision, because at the time, if I'm correct, that was the only car that I kind of saw being the most competitive, I suppose, in the class, in the whole group of cars we had to choose from. So I picked the RX Vision, since it was a bit different, a bit quirky. I also didn't really drive the car a lot, but I know from time to time.
I just read that as well.
True. to a bit of a mechanical failure there. You know, it doesn't help that the wheel came off, but it was fine. But moving on, honestly, the RX Vision, like I kind of know how to drive it, and it's also a relatively easy car to drive since it's FR, and it's probably one of the most nicest cars to drive in the game, barring maybe the Porsche or the McLaren. But yeah, it was just getting used to the wheel and also getting used to the cars really. But yeah,
I've got to say, have you been
think,
back to the wheel since, or are you kind of waiting for that for like maybe season 2 to go back on the wheel?
I'm honestly not too sure on that regard because I kind of put myself in a position where I absolutely love going on the wheel for like actual sim racing games, like like ACC. But whenever I get on GC7, I'm still trying to find my my pace on the wheels. So I'm just still learning.
Same, I feel that.
Oh.
But Kirk, any other questions before we let Deadline go?
Final question. Well, final question for you tonight, Deadline. If
Mhm.
you are coming back for season 2, what are your goals? Where do you want to finish in the championship next season?
This is where my ego really shines because I so want to say win the championship and say yes, yes, goodbye. Yeah, but that's not happening. In reality, um, I kind of want to take my advantage of being relatively good in sprint races, to the next level and probably be a little bit more competitive in regards to the sprint races, because this season, although ignoring the first 2 races, I was pretty decent when it comes to all the sprint races I had. I was more or less close to the podium, if not on the podium. I just missed out on the race win like three like a couple of times. So by hopefully my next season, I will actually get my stuff together and go for the pseudo sprint race championship, as I like to say.
No, I'm sure with the
And
pace that you have, it's definitely something that you might be able to do. And I've just read what Midnight said. His goal is to get Deadline to turn and not sleep through races.
Yeah, no comments on that one.
No comment. But yeah, it's been a pleasure having you, and like Kirk said, hopefully we'll see you back for season 2. Maybe in the RX Vision again, maybe in something different. But yeah,
We'll wait and see, really.
we'll wait and see.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to say real quick, it's been a pleasure listening to to all 3 of your commentaries. I think if it's 3, Kirk, yourself, and Midnight's commentary. It's been really nice to watch them back, post race. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the races as well I've been in. Again, ignoring the 2 races I wasn't in. But yeah, I seriously cannot wait for next season. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and massive congratulations. Obviously, can't confirm your position because you probably went up so many positions today. But when we can, we'll obviously let you know where you finish. But massive congratulations, and well done for
Thank you very much.
jumping out of the Lamborghini into that RX Vision and showing your pace again. And it's been a pleasure having you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Again, I'll hopefully see you all for next season.
Hopefully. I mean, we'd
Well
love to have
done-
you back.
Well done, season Deadline.
But enjoy the rest of your evening and speak to you
I
soon.
will. Yeah, see you guys.
Bye bye bye. Very sorry, Simrace did keep you waiting. How are you?
Hello.
How was your race? How was your evening? Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's not been too bad tonight. I mean, first of all, I want to congratulate Pedro for securing his P4. I think it was always going to be a bit of a tall ask for me to contend for that tonight. But yeah, tonight I've got, I would say, mixed emotions. Really, I mean, I wish I could have brought more of a challenge. The strategy for the feature race was atrocious. I ended up trying to one stop. I don't know how I thought that was going to work. Yeah, it was a bit of an average one for me this evening. The sprint race, I felt like I was more on it, but lack of preparation and whatnot all accounted for me not really performing as I should have done.
But before we move on to Kirk's questions, obviously, I'm not sure if you heard Swizzy talking earlier, saying that a massive shout out to yourself. Obviously, driving that Aston Martin. You've been very, very, very consistent in that Aston Martin. Obviously, a car that might not be kind of up there compared to the other cars, but you're showing your pace within that car all season long. And some really strong drives. So yeah, some words from our champion to you, in case you didn't hear. He's.
I didn't hear, but I'll certainly be watching the stream back anyway. So that's lovely of him to say that. Yeah, it's been a quite challenging one. I've kind of enjoyed embracing the challenge of the Aston Martin. I don't know whether it's kind of a car that kind of suits me at the moment, being a little bit average when playing Gran Turismo. But no, I've enjoyed it. You know, it's been fairly decent to try and extract and get the most out of it. And yeah, it's there's lots of positives. So you know, as I say, quite mixed emotions right now. I mean, it's the end of the league as well, so. You know, I'm already thinking what am I going to be doing next Wednesday. So yeah, I've got to look at the season overall and be quite happy with what I've managed to achieve. You know, I've only recently got back to playing Gran Turismo more on the regular, so yeah, I've got to take all the positives from the league overall, and yeah, but massive. You know, shout out to everybody that's been involved. You know, whether you've been behind the scenes managing the league, you know, the commentary's been superb, and everybody that's you know, driven, watched the streams. It's been yeah, everybody involved has been fantastic.
Really do appreciate the kind words, and it's been a pleasure to see you coming back to GT7, coming back to racing with us, and. Like I said to the others, it's been a pleasure to also commentate, but also to race alongside you at points. And it's been a pleasure to kind of see you getting back into the swing of things in the league. And we can confirm that you got P5. So, I mean, P5 on your first league back on GT7 is a phenomenal job all season long. And then I'll pass you over to Kirk if he has any questions. But just a massive congratulations from me to you on that P5.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll see you for Season 2. But Kirk, if you're still here and you've got any questions?
Yeah, I'm still here, yeah. So, obviously heading into the round tonight, there was 2 points separating you and Pedro. And as you said, you weren't expecting to beat Pedro tonight, but... do you think there's anything you could have done differently tonight to be able to beat Pedro, or do you think it was already
yeah, for sure.
Done?
No, I mean, I could have done a lot more, to be honest. Whether it would have impacted the ending results, that's a different question. But at the start of the sprint race, I had a bit of a brain fart. For some reason, I thought it was a 15-lap race, so I ended up starting the race trying to fuel save. Everybody kind of drove past me and I was like, they're not getting to the end of this race, and then it kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, I've had a bit of a moment there. And then I managed to catch up with Pedro towards the end of the sprint. So in hindsight, I could have maybe beat him there. But when it came to the feature, I got the strategy completely wrong. I think I was just trying to do something, trying to be smart, and it kind of backfired. So I had a bit of an average race. I spent more time just fuel saving and managing my tyres and actually doing any racing this evening at a track where the tyre wear's not particularly that bad. So yeah, I've got that completely wrong. Who knows? That's something I can certainly learn from and take into next season.
Yeah,
So heading into next season, is there any goals, any self challenges that you'd like to try and achieve next season?
There's probably some pre-season testing I need to do. Why I picked that Aston Martin, I don't know. I don't. There's a lot I can be doing before the season starts, and with a bit more preparation and a bit more practice now I'm back racing on GT. A bit more. Certainly, I'm hoping I can get some better results.
And obviously, throughout this season, we saw you finishing P4 a few times. Do you think you have it in you for a podium next season, or if you get with P4 again?
If I was to quit my job and quit all the other sim racing activities I do, yeah, maybe. But juggling all the other things I've got, I think it's always going to be quite a challenge, especially with the caliber of drivers that we've got in the league. So
I was going to say P4 is definitely not something to shrug your shoulders at.
certainly not.
With the
No.
caliber of drivers that we have, and obviously yourself as well. You've been very consistent.
If I'm getting podiums, then you need to start questioning those drivers, to be honest.
But yeah, you've been very consistent. You've been the best of the rest, as they say. You've been up there towards the podiums, 4th, 5th place, and getting those points all season long obviously has kind of boosted you up into that 5th place in the championship. And I'm very, very proud of your performances. It's been a pleasure to watch them and race alongside you. So thank you again. And yeah, looking forward to season 2. Hopefully you don't get stuck in that Aston Martin again, and you get into a car that you enjoy a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, pleasure talking to you as always, and we'll look forward to obviously kind of announcing the season 2 details and getting you in, and getting some of that pre-season testing done and dusted.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for being here and racing with us.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. And our last kind of person to chat to. There's a lot of people to chat to today. If there is anybody else that wants to jump in that hasn't jumped in, that we haven't spoken to, it's the final race of the season, please do. But we're joined by the other half of Nighthawk Racing, the co-founder, or the other co-founder, apart from me, Midnight ISO, also known as Luke. How are you doing? How was tonight for you?
Bonjour. Firstly, I just wanted to come and say hello to everyone, and thank you for everyone who's taken part in the race. And I'll say more on that in just a sec. But yeah, the race was fun, particularly the sprint. So I had a lot of fun with that. But with the feature, I was kind of in no man's land for a lot of it. So I don't know how it looked to you, but went with a unique strategy and was hoping to catch a few people off guard. Might have just caught myself off guard, but never mind.
Yeah, I couldn't quite remember the strategy you said to me the other day, but I did remember it was quite unique. Did it go the way you wanted to, or not
More
really?
or less. More or less. The only thing I did do a little bit wrong was overfuel on the final stint because I thought I was using too much fuel, but it didn't cost me any positions. I think the closest I could have been was on the back of Pedro and Mac, but not in front of them, so I'm happy how it turned out.
Yeah. Kirk, any questions?
We saw in the sprint race how it was very close between you, Mac, Pedro, and Deadline. What was it like from your perspective? Obviously, a very solid defensive drive from Deadline. So what was it like from your perspective, Luke?
Organised chaos. But honestly, yeah, trying to get past that RX position with Deadline, who's very, very good at defensive driving and with a high top speed, it's entertaining at least. And I did not expect him to pick up a penalty on the final corner. That was kind of like inheriting second place, so kind of bit lucky there, but well done to him and to Swizzy, who got past a lot of us. So well done to him, and obviously congrats to him on the championship level. So kudos there. But yeah, the sprint was a lot of fun. Dicing with, if I remember correctly, it was Coach, Pedro, and Swizzy, and Deadline, and I'm sure there were other people in there too. I have to go back and have a look at it. I've forgotten more than I can remember at this point.
That's when you know it's been a good race, when
And
you
then-
can't quite remember where the people around you finished. You're so focused on yourself and getting to the end.
Exactly that. And I have to say, from the admin side, I think we've seen a very good and increasing standard of driving throughout the season. And today was very good from most, if not all, drivers out there. So well done, everyone, and again across the season. And if I could briefly just give a very quick shout out to all of the super subs we've had throughout the season, like Chef, who jumped in last minute, and we've had Deadline, who jumped in last minute and then has stayed throughout the entire season. Same with Coach and all the other drivers that have taken part, a couple which aren't here today, but have been across the season. Thank you to each and every one of them.
Couldn't agree more. Kirk, you got any last questions for Midnight?
Yeah. See, in the feature race, we saw you pit quite early for the first time, and then obviously undercut both Pedro and McManley. What was the goal in the end? Was it always to try and undercut them and then have track position to defend, or was it to always pit a bit early on the first stint, go long on the mediums, and then try and catch them up on the softs at the end?
No, the idea was exactly that. It was to undercut everyone. I saw the mediums were just not wearing in a little bit of testing, so I knew how far I was going to go. I knew how far I could take the fuel tank and the soft tyres before the pace dropped off. So I maximised the amount of time on the softs. So pitted early, switched to the softs. And yeah, the only thing that didn't work for me was the fact that the McLaren is not good in a straight line, and my own consistency wasn't quite there today, but obviously it worked out nicely. P4, I'm not complaining.
Say P4. A mega result.
Sarah in the
Oh,
he
he was
beat
always
Sarah
beating
in
me.
co-comment Sarah.
He was always beating me in that little battle. I mean,
It was a good
I think
commentary battle, Sarah.
I was gonna say
I enjoyed it.
I think I failed at the first hurdle. I was keeping my spin record up, all right. Well, that's my excuse. I'm gonna keep that excuse. You know, I was keeping my record alive. But yeah, I mean, obviously we've swapped racing and commentating throughout this season. I reckon if you were obviously on the grid full time, you would definitely be up there in the championship. Although saying that, although we've done half, with today you've jumped probably a lot of positions. Securing yourself within that top 10. How do you feel, obviously, with the caliber of drivers that we have, being in the top 10 with only doing half of the races?
Personally, I'm very pleased with my own performance, and to be even regarded anywhere near amongst some of the guys like Swizzy, KD Nakai, Max, Imrace Dude, Pedro, and obviously everyone else from Lee, Jabril, and absolutely everyone who's taken part. Some of those are absolutely epic talents, and just being consistent enough to be there and amongst them. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And yeah, season 2, I'm possibly going to be racing the whole one. We're still sorting that out. But I look to be annoying the top 3, top 4 more often, and I look forward to seeing everyone out on track again.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for you to annoy them as well. But
I'll bring some more weird strategies for you.
Yeah, keep bringing the unique, weird strategies. You keep us guessing the whole time. So yeah. Apart from that, a massive congratulations as well. And I think, unless there's anybody else that wants to jump in, that is it for our driver interviews. Obviously, we've got Midnight here, the other co-founder. But before we end, just want to say massive thank you to all the drivers, all the admin, everyone behind the scenes, Kirk, everyone obviously that couldn't do the whole season, but graced us with their presence for a few races within the season. A massive thank you as well. Just overall, very grateful for everyone and appreciate everyone's time, obviously, every Wednesday. And I look forward to season 2. Like I've said, details are still being finalised. As soon as we know, we'll let you know. We'll get drivers and cars sorted as quick as we can, so everyone can do their pre-season testing and go, oops, I've picked the wrong car. And maybe, just maybe, the GT7 gods might actually grace us with some weather next season. But yeah, Midnight, any words you want to say before I end the stream?
No, I can only just parrot what you've said there, but I can only add on top, thank you to all of the support from everyone, especially the admin and the drivers, and from yourself, Sarah and Kirk, who've done a good job tonight in the alternating of the comms, and I've had a lot of fun, and yeah, bring on season 2.
Yeah, I think that just kind of captures it quite well, that we've had a lot of fun both on comms and racing, and yeah, I mean, thank you, Mac, as well. Thank you for the shout out to the admin team. Appreciate it. I'm still waiting for your PowerPoint, Mac. Joking. But before we end, Kirk, just want to say a massive thank you, especially to you, for obviously jumping in with me and Midnight throughout the season, doing a brilliant job in the comms box, keeping, you know, me and Midnight on our toes, picking out some good moves and battles across the season, and yeah, a massive thank you to you, and hopefully either racing or commentating in season 2 in some way, form or another. We'd love to have you for season 2, but yeah, a massive thank you. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, I'm just glad to be here, Sarah. Thanks for you and Luke for wanting me to be here.
Yeah, we couldn't have thought of anyone better. But yeah, we appreciate all your hard work and for being a brilliant co-host with us. And yeah, obviously, seeing you throughout the season, you know, growing confidence and the commentating skills, you know, getting good now. You could take over mine and Midnight's job any day. But yeah, just a massive thank you.
It's all right, no worries. Thank you for having me. As I say again, it's always a pleasure.
But yeah, that's it. That's season 1 done and dusted. Like Pedro said earlier, we've learnt a lot of things. Good and bad. A lot of positives though to be taken out of the season, and now goes the time of finalising season 2, taking some well-deserved time off from planning and organising to give our breaks a little bit of a rest before we're back up and running. But just echoing both Kirk and Midnight's words, thank you to all the drivers and everyone that's involved. I will leave you with the highlights of today's sprint race, you know, providing us with some good action. But yeah, a massive thank you. I hope I see you all in season 2, and yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the details, because I'll be up shortly, and as soon as we know the driver standings, we will we'll publish them, and you know, points makes prizes at the end of the day. Wink wink, nudge nudge. But yeah, congratulations to everyone, massive thank you, and see you for season 2.